It was a long time ago in New York, right?
Yeah, it happened back. So I grew up on Long Island, and when I was 13, for some...
Hey, Ted, you asked him a question. Stop being fucking rude and moving cans and shit.
You're
Just
on
listen.
the same camera as him.
I know.
So he's telling a story. You're over here like, yeah, fuck that.
I was holding a can.
People can see you,
You know,
man.
the best thing is, before he started making noise, I'm like holding back not to scratch my head or
Dude, just
swat
do
these
it.
gnats.
Just do it, man.
Once he started making noise, I'm like, screw it, we're not going to have the camera on.
No one
Let's keep
cares.
going.
Swat the gnats, bro. It's a new dance move. Welcome to the Wedding Crashers Podcast. What's up, guys?
Yo.
This is the Wedding Crashers Podcast. I'm Tommy. We got our my co-hosts here. We got Mikey. Hey, yo, Mikey. We got Ted,
What's up?
Baby Buffalo, and we got our guest, Joe.
How you doing?
.com.
Joe.com.
Close.
Joe.com. That's awesome. I wonder what Joe.com is.
So
don't
actually, it's funny. Every time I text or call you, my wife's like, "Who's that?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's." And I say this same thing over and over again. So now she's like, "Wait, was it DJ Joe Falco?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that was the guy."
.com.
She did it today.
Solid.
She's like, "I got it right."
DJ Joe Falco. So we got DJ Joe Falco here.
Joe.com is a resort for St. Joe's. It seems to be an island of some sort. Looks pretty good.
He looked it up.
Yeah. And
on the
JoeFalco.com actually is like,
A lingerie store.
no, it's for sale, but they want like, at one point they wanted like $25,000 for the name.
Of course they did.
And I happened to say I was interested in it, and that was like the worst
Thing to
idea I've
say.
ever had, because now I get a phone call like once a month asking my interest, and the price keeps going down because I guess whoever had it before didn't want it. And
Now they're just trying to get the most for the
Yeah.
money. Well,
They're
you
trying
just
to-
wait it out, man.
yeah, I'll
Be
change
$5.
my name before I spend
$25,000.
$25,000
It's a lot cheaper.
for a website.
We get that for flagship, right?
Yeah, a
Yeah.
defunct recording studio owns the .com.
Gaming studio.
Gaming
Yeah,
studio,
gaming
yeah,
studio.
yeah.
If you
Do
look
they
it up,
still
it's-
have it now?
Every year they lower it, like you're saying. And he'll be
Right.
like, yo, you need this. You can't have no one's going to find your site. And I actually send him the statistics every now and then. I'm like, I don't need it.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, make me an offer. I'm like, well, domain.com will charge me $9.99 for the year. That's my offer.
I'll give you $9.98.
Really don't need it.
And it's like there's so many options that .com is like the last thing most people are thinking about.
Right.
You know, Ted was talking about like chiming in and having something to say, and I was finding it funny that he wanted to do it before we were recording, because there was a couple of times I feel like I've saw him on the podcast and heard him kind of give advice and ideas during recording,
Right.
and I was just wondering like if he says it in the beginning and then says it again for the camera and for the recording, or how that was going to work. His idea was okay this time, but I mean, my story's not that great. But
Right. So I think we can debunk that now. So Ted is a continuous influence in positive outlook advice. It's never, yo, that looks dumb. Maybe try and do this. It's do you mind if I give you a little criticism?
Yeah.
You mind if I give you a little criticism? Can I say something, please? Ted doesn't talk like that, but that is the general consensus, I think. DJ Joe Falco, what do you do in the wedding industry?
DJ, pretty easy there with the name.
Solid. That's fantastic.
Episode over.
Episode done. All right,
All right,
let's
it
go
was-
to check.
it was great
Thanks
having you.
for having me, and I'm happy we spent 10 minutes talking about other stuff. And
The credits roll.
Right.
Wait, before we go, what's your favorite song? All right, we're done.
How many times have you heard I Had Her First or Butterfly Kisses?
plenty of times. I think Butterfly Kisses was last week with me and Ted, and I
Yeah.
mean, for us, you do a wedding a weekend or two weddings a weekend, whatever you're doing, and you hear them over and over again. It seems like so repetitive, but remember, like most people
Right.
get married once, so they pick the song out once.
Yeah.
And
know
how
if I say
many weddings
most.
do you go to?
half of people.
Half, at least half. And then how many are you going to as a guest, right?
Yeah.
So, most people are just picking out the song that they like or that ends up on some list somewhere.
Right.
And I always try to just recommend to people when it comes to like parent dances or something where they seem to be stuck on picking what's that right song. Like, sometimes it's ask mom or dad, like what's their song? Like what do they want to hear? Like realistically, throughout everything at a wedding, there's so much going on that the song that you pick should mean something to you and your parent that you're dancing
Right.
with,
Right.
and
Should be
not
important.
worried about what other people think.
Like you hear some people do like what's his name, Fire and Rain by James Taylor, stuff like that. It's like that's not a wedding song, like parent kid wedding song, but it's meant something specific to them. Like you can just immediately tell that that's not just for a wedding; it's specific to them, right? It's
Simple Man is one that I've had
Simple
a
Man,
lot.
That's what I
this
just put
year.
in my mind.
Yeah, that's a common one. That's a redneck royalty song, man.
But I did the one from the guy from American Idol who redid it.
That makes it worse.
Lead to Wise, yeah. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
What's
it
the
worse.
oddest song you've ever had at a wedding?
Oh, I got one.
Go.
Actually, I've never heard my wedding song at any wedding I've ever shot.
So your wedding had the oddest song.
Yes.
Cool.
No one's ever heard it.
Great job.
Get Low.
Wait, what?
It
No.
was Get Low. No, the weirdest one. It wasn't weird. I guess I was piggybacking on my previous comment about like butterfly kisses and the other one being like rough to like edit to for the 1000th time. What's worse than that is this one wedding. I guess the guy said, "Oh, mom, just pick out whatever you want," and she picked out this song. I think it was like a royalty-free song written specifically about a mother-son dance. From some like B artist that doesn't exist. It was like some woman singing real emotionally, and it was like, what is happening?
I thought you were gonna say the one time we had it where it was a love song, not a mother-son song.
Well,
Like,
that
that was
happens.
Dude, that was your wedding.
That happens a lot of times. People pick a song and it's like, that's not really right, but
Right.
that's what you want.
Right.
But those songs that you're talking about, there's like 3 or 4 of them that people were like, hey, I could capitalize on making a song
Right.
that's specific for this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess they sell it on iTunes or whatever, but you can also
Yeah.
find it other ways. So
Right.
how much money are they
definitely
really
on a-
making? Because it's not like distributed normally.
Right.
I
Definitely on a
personally-
wedding wire survey. Son of a. Or no, not survey. List.
I personally do not get tired of those mother-son dances songs at all. I love all of them. Like, the father-daughter, like I love them. Like I could hear Butterfly Kisses over and over again. I love it. The one from Stephen
Yikes.
Curtis Chapman called Cinderella.
Yep.
Love that song.
I think once you have kids and you're doing the weddings,
Yeah.
that part of the wedding
I think
has
about
a
that all the
different-
time.
different play to it, right?
Dude, the one that got me was Leanne.
Oh, by the way, it was Nothing Else Matters by Metallica. That was the weirdest song I've had for first dance.
Oh, that's
But
what we were getting
Thanks
to.
for
Let's circle it back.
That was a.
Well, you pitched it out. I didn't know if you had one.
Yeah.
Right. Did you have one?
To be honest with you, I can't think of what the weirdest one is, and I think part of it is
Amish Paradise by Weird Al
Thinking-
Yankovic.
That'd be awesome.
that would be great actually. The instrumental
Like
cover,
the Vitamin String Quartet,
Vitamin
if they
String-
do that.
Vitamin
or
String
the,
Quartet of
Just Gangster's Paradise, then. Right?
Gangster's Paradise.
What was the one that
They actually
Weird Al
use that
did?
in a lot of movies now.
The Weird Al covered.
Amish
Amish
Paradise.
Paradise.
Amish
Yeah,
Paradise.
yeah.
That's what we just
I think
said.
that's where it
I thought you were
started.
talking about the
That's where
original
we started,
one.
man. Keep
Never
up.
He was thinking about it.
No, they've been using the string version of Gangster's Paradise, which I think it already has strings in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
For Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets for the trailer for that, and then they just another movie trailer I just watched the other day. Gangster's Paradise again. It's like the best trailer music ever.
I
It's
wonder if
epic,
it just came up
builds.
on where it's now out of its licensing, where it's cheaper
be.
for them
That's
to get
probably
that.
what it
Yeah.
is.
Most
That's
definitely.
probably what
Yeah.
it is.
Have you ever heard the song called "The Other Side of Me" by Michael W. Smith?
I
It's
don't
about
think so.
it's about anal.
It's not. That was the song we danced to at my
Could be.
wedding. Me and my wife.
Yeah.
Definitely about that.
I never heard it.
It has a lot of lines about going down a mud road.
I'm like,
It's a dirt road, country dirt road. It says something about the bridge to Mordor. That's awesome.
so
That's
you nev-
awesome.
you haven't heard that at another one.
No,
Obviously.
never.
I don't even
It's
know if
it's
I've
a
heard
it's
of
a
the song.
Christian song too, so it's not like geared towards that. It just happened to fit really really well for that.
Geared
so
toward what?
I love it.
Anal?
Like just love.
Love,
in
got
general.
it.
Not anal.
I got a good
Just
follow-up
regular
question
love.
to Mike's question.
Yeah.
What's the weirdest song you've ever had clear the dance floor?
Oh,
I can
I
tell
have
you
one.
mine.
I have one.
Is ours the same one? Probably
No.
not. Go ahead.
So clear the dance floor.
Didn't we just have this happen last weekend? We did
Jesus.
something.
Did you do this?
Your answer should be, I'm DJ Joe Falco. I never clear the dance
I'm
floor.
thinking. Hold on. Was there one last weekend that did it? There was not. I
forget.
can't think if it was like a specific song. I think it was just timing
Yeah, it was
of
timing,
things.
yeah, it was timing.
But it's not necessarily a song that cleared the dance floor. It was a group of songs. I had a bride who thought it was a good idea to play rap music at her wedding, but like legit rap, like
Gangster rap.
not on the verge of gangster rap, but like, which there's nothing wrong with listening to it in the car and outside on the deck, but like doesn't really
She's
fit
playing
your
like
wedding.
Immortal Technique.
Yeah, it was just weird, like a weird mix. So would do our thing, people be dancing, having a great time. She'd come up and say, play some stuff off of this part of the list. Every time we went there, everybody disappeared except for her. And it was kind of like sad. And then I kept trying to build different ways of how do you, like, she wants you guys to dance with her to this one. And it totally blow it out every time. And I always try now to make sure that I have conversations with people that when I see a majority of stuff that might not necessarily work, whatever the genre is, to say, hey, like, let's pick a certain time of the night where we want to try this. And if it doesn't work, let's kind of leave it at that. And we knew that you wrote it down, but let's just leave it. Because, you know, the wedding, it's tough. It's there. You're there to hear what you want to hear, but you have 100, 200 guests that want to
and they're all your parents' friends.
Yeah. At least probably
How many
half,
times
at
do you
most
play
times.
Run Around Sue in that scenario?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like there's certain songs that people are like, I don't ever want to hear that at my wedding, but the 200 people that are there to celebrate with you
They won't
do.
hear it.
So maybe you don't need to play
Don't
every
Stop Believing
single
by
one
Journey.
of those, you know, typical songs, but you know, you have to have a good mix, and I think that's what we try to do is figure out how to get everybody to party together and not make it seem like the same exact wedding you've been to 100 times.
Right.
You know, by throwing in some different stuff. But yeah, it's definitely funny, or it was funny that one time. That list, it was definitely a floor clearing list.
Me and Mike did a wedding last weekend, and twice they played Celine Dion, and it was epic. Everybody was into it. Everybody.
In an odd way. Even
Yeah, the
DJ's
groom
like,
was like screaming it. It was awesome.
Yeah,
that's
dope.
but that's knowing your guests
She's
too,
Canada's
like,
princess. Come on, man.
You know, sometimes there's a song that's like a family hit or like a friend hit, or you know, this is what we play at every party. And it worked.
Every time you played that list, it turned into a quinceañera. just one girl dancing.
I have
or
one
Sweet 16.
that was not a family hit. He was just done with the dance floor, and the dude drops "Let the Bodies Hit the Floor," but played it for 2 minutes. Like,
dude, that was the walkout song at Sabat's wedding, the one we just did.
right, but that's
people
different.
coming out, it was like a remix
Walkout's
of Let the Bodies Hit the Floor.
This
It
guy
was-
had
it
a
was
hardcore
awesome.
dance set going. He's just like, "Let the bodies hit the floor," and he just sat there like, "Yeah, I played it."
It happened. It happened. I say like weirdest one. It was this wedding where I guess the next way to say it was like salsa music was a big hit, right? There was a lot of good like Latin pop going on and stuff like that, and they dropped Mi Gente. Everybody's cleared dance floor.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Well, again,
what just happened?
Sometimes that's with crowd, right?
Right.
I mean, there's certain songs. Mi Gente is very mainstream.
Right.
So if you are into salsa music
Right,
and
right,
Latin
and then
stuff,
boom, Mi
that
Gente.
might
You're
be
like,
too
what?
mainstream.
Right.
And it happens.
Right. Yeah, that can get weird. That's funny, man. Mi Gente.
A lot of like what I try to do when it comes to like planning music is try my best with the bride and groom, or you know, whoever's involved in planning. Sometimes it's parents that have some influence and things, to say like, hey, give me some of your top songs that you really like, you know, you can't do without, right? You don't want to miss anything on these, you know, 5 songs, 10 songs, or artists that you love, and then give us a little bit of like freedom to play around and make sure that we play those at the right time, but also let people have a good time. And those typically work out pretty good.
Yeah, you know you got a problem when you got the mother-son dance to Despacito.
Wait, does that happen?
Or Get Low.
Yeah.
No, that's never happening.
How did you
Never.
get started being a DJ?
So it all started.
None of
way
your
back
fucking
when-
business. sorry. Joey Gabagool, go ahead.
It was a long time ago in New York, right?
Yeah, it happened back. So I grew up on Long Island, and when I was 13, for some
Hey Ted, you asked him a
You're-
question. Stop being fucking rude
you're-
and moving cans and shit.
You're
Just
on the
listen.
same camera as him.
I know.
So he's telling a story. You're over
saying-
here like, yeah, fuck that.
I was holding a can.
People can see you,
You know what the
man.
best thing is? Before he started making noise, I'm like holding back not to scratch my head or
Dude, just
swat
do
these
it.
gnats.
Just do it, man.
Once he started making noise, I'm like, screw it. We're not going to have the camera on.
Ah, no one
Let's keep
cares.
going.
Swat the gnats, bro. It's a new dance move.
So I was 13, and my mom was actually planning a party for my grandparents and for their 50th wedding anniversary. And I was like, when she was calling around for DJs, I was like, oh, I'd love to be a DJ, because I was like into DJ Scribble and you know guys like that. And
the fuck is that?
You
When
know
she
who
was-
DJ Scribble is?
you know,
No, man.
her-
Was he on the Wiggles?
Yeah, those
Yeah.
were the good old days.
So when she was on the phone with the guy booking the party, that she ended up booking, she mentioned that I was interested, but I was 13. And he's like, well, we'll see. Like, usually you got to be a little older to start working. So they ended up coming, doing that party. I met them there. And about a month later, I started working with that company, going around, carrying stuff, wrapping wires up, doing stuff like that. And that was when I was 13, and now I'm 33, and it's been a career.
That was Mark and them, right?
So it was my buddy Mark and Adrian and Mark and Matt. There was a couple of guys, and it was crazy. In the beginning, I would go around literally. In the beginning, I'd set up, do nothing else the rest of the night, and then at the end of the night, help take stuff down. And it transitioned into eventually at weddings or at parties, I'd start playing music, dinner and things like that. And I'd say probably by the time I was like 16 or 17, I actually started DJing the wedding. And it might have been the first one that I was the DJ and Adrian was the MC. First dance, we used to play off of CDs. During the first dance, I hit pause and eject, and the CD came out. And it was a good learning experience of like making sure you know what you're doing and paying attention.
Oh my God!
But
What'd you do? What'd you do to recover? Put the CD back in.
Put it back in and hit play. But it was one of those things where it's like, all right, like
It happens.
I'm not ready to really have that responsibility just yet. So, since after that though, started going out, doing my own parties and things like that, and it turned out really well. At one point in the beginning, like to give you an idea how young I was when I started, my grandparents used to drive me to gigs with my gear, drop me off. I'd set up, like these were like block parties and like different things where it didn't make a difference if you're like 14, 15 years old DJing them. And after I was all done, I'd pack everything up and like wheel it over to the corner and wait for somebody to come pick me up at the end of the night. So it's kind of cool. It was a good humbling experience of getting started and learning. And then about, I don't know, 7 years ago, I moved down to New Jersey and started doing just primarily weddings after moving down here. So it's been my transition.
That's awesome, man. Something I'm starting to notice, a lot of DJs that at least we've talked to start really young. They start much younger in the wedding industry than I think like a lot of photographers do.
I think part of it is in the beginning, like DJing, I didn't really get into the wedding industry. I got into DJing because I thought it was cool and fun.
Right.
And
that wasn't your main motivation.
Yeah,
we
as
know
time
what it was.
goes on. Yeah, I love the music.
Chicks, man.
Nah,
Chicks.
the chicks thing, it doesn't really work out as
Right.
much as
It's
much
the
as
only
you
reason
think.
people start playing music, man.
Yeah.
I get it.
But it's like one of those things like in your head, like when you're younger, you're like, oh, this is great for the girls. And then you realize like you're working and because you're
You
the
can't do that.
youngest guy, you're actually like the one that has to do the work.
Right.
So it doesn't really work out.
Right.
But it's fun.
It's the lie they tell all kids that join band. Hey, man, join band.
Yeah.
Get all the girls. Girls love musicians. Yeah, not trombone.
Yeah.
What's band?
Right. It's a thing that they had in public schools.
Shouldn't you
it
be
takes
saying-
more than 3 people.
Ted was the band. He had played every instrument.
You're supposed to balance all of them in your head at the same time, right?
That's it. They don't teach that in mime school.
Please tell us you didn't pick up any girls at school. though.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
No.
We had goats.
Goat named Cheryl.
Actually, her name was Penelope.
Oh, my God.
Not joking. That's real.
Which part?
The second one was Priscilla.
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ.
The boy goat was named Perry.
How did they taste?
Perry smelled horrible.
Well, at least we know you don't discriminate.
What do
Girl.
goats sound like?
Sounded kind of like the noise we make for the buffalo, but
Bah, bah.
yeah, just like that. That's
Yep.
pretty accurate.
That's
Real-
great.
I think we talked about this previously, but that is not what a buffalo sounds like.
No, it's
I don't.
not.
I don't even care.
We can't.
I
Yeah,
don't
I
care.
don't care.
That's Ted's mating call.
I love that he shakes when he does it. It's
You
the
got to.
craziest
That's
thing.
part of the end. The end of it. Got to quiver a little
Can
bit.
you meet the camera with your eyes and just give it a solid blah?
Bah, bah.
Awesome. Awesome.
Oh my
We're
god.
good. We're good. That's a wrap.
We had 5 hours on our way to Vermont for that wedding, so like we had a lot of time to
Get to know each
figure
other.
this stuff out.
No, that happened during the wedding. We figured that.
I was
noise
at the
out.
wedding, yeah.
It was we were eating dinner.
Yeah.
we,
Oh, yeah,
we looked up
that's right.
an actual buffalo
That's
sound,
right.
and it sounds like a fucking.
And the guy thought we were like watching Jurassic Park.
Right, dude. It sounds like a dinosaur. It's the
Dude,
craziest
that's
noise I've ever
definitely
heard.
a dinosaur.
I gotta make a sound bite of the buffalo sound, the real one.
No, never mind.
Go ahead. What?
We're saying it sounds like a dinosaur, but we do realize no one knows what a fucking dinosaur sounds like, right?
Listen, man. I
true.
saw
Listen,
Jurassic
man.
World. I know what they sound like.
It's real.
No, they can come close to guessing. I had a conversation with somebody about this, about atomic theory recently. That it was, nobody knows what an atom looks like. Yeah, but we can guess. I got scientific instruments that show me things that prove parts of the theory. But with dinosaurs, they can look at nasal cavities and.
But all
and
you
the
got
way
is
that-
bones.
Yeah, that's saying, but pushing air through the bones, that's what sound is, right? You're pushing air through vocal cords. You're pushing air through your nasal cavity, things like that.
What if somebody just heard a buffalo and goes, "Oh shit, we
That's
should make
a
a
dinosaur."
Well,
dinosaur."
actually,
Look
we
it
think
up.
that's what they
It's just
did
really
for
hard
Jurassic
to-
Park.
Gotta
hard
be-
to
that's not what they did. That's
what
gotta
they
be-
did.
It's a race car
It's a
backwards.
thing now.
Dude, that's what a lot of things are. Race cars backwards.
Really?
Well, God's
We
it.
recorded a race car. No, it was The Incredibles, the spinny UFO type things. It's an F1 race car played in reverse.
No, but when it comes to favorite songs and favorite music, it's funny. There's nothing that I'm like, oh, I love this song and I want to play it at every single wedding, because it's not.
I don't know.
You know,
I'm asking.
it's just like one of those things. Like in your head, a lot of times playing the same song, you would think you'd get the same result all the time, and you don't.
Okay.
Not at all.
So
Think about it like from us. It's like we do the I imagine it's a different reaction every single time, but like the same shot's not gonna work for me in every boudoir session.
Yeah.
And then after like 4 sessions of shooting the same background or the same chair or the same something, I'm like, I don't want to shoot that chair anymore. I don't want to shoot that background anymore. I want to shoot something different. It gets stale for you. You know what I mean?
Well, I always put it this way: it's like a song that works great at 8 o'clock on a Friday with this group. You could do a wedding on Saturday and try to play it at 8 o'clock. Like have all the things
Exactly.
lined up exactly the same, and it's just if it's not right, it's not right. And sometimes it's about timing, and sometimes it's just like reading the crowd and. As I'm wiping gnats out of my eyes, reading the crowd
That's a
and
bad idea.
understanding what they don't like and what they like, and I think that's really the difference when it comes to DJing. It's everybody has the same music. Like realistically, we were talking about this before. You go on iTunes, you can have every song you want. You know, you go on a record pool that people are using to download music, you could have every version of every song you want.
Right.
But if all you do is mimic what somebody else did, even though you might be playing the right songs, you're not playing them at the right time.
Right.
Or you might not be playing the right songs
For the right crowd.
For the right crowd. So that's where like experience and stuff comes in, and kind of understanding. And one of the things that I've tried to do and like to do is get to know the bride and groom a little bit to figure out the music that would be good to hear when there's no dancing going on, right? And make that the personal part. During dinner, like I want to play what's playing in your car. When people get in your car, when there's that time between toasts and salad coming out, like intermingle some of your personal touches there. That way people know that it's your wedding, and they're having fun knowing it's your wedding and it's stamped yours. But then like figuring out what needs to get played to get people dancing, because realistically for your wedding there's not that much time. Like you guys know, you're trying to get shots, and there's dinner and there's this and there's that. So like the amount of time that you have, and really the amount of time you have to make a good impression to get people out dancing and celebrating is even shorter, because like if you miss the first time, it makes it really difficult to dig out of a hole and try to get people out dancing, because they're looking at it like, nobody's dancing. I don't want to be the first one. So you got to figure out how to get them out.
Right, we see a lot of DJs. I feel like knowing when to rock the slow song to bring everybody out, or to slow it back down and then like drive it back up to get them dancing and stuff like that. I feel like that's super important, because I've seen people, they're trying to bring everybody out on the dance floor and get it pumped back up. So they go, all right, slow dance. They get all the couples out on the floor. Another slow dance. I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? Come on.
And there's like a logic to it, right?
Right,
There's like
right.
different things that are going to work to drag people out. It depends on how the room's set up. It depends on all these little things to use which trick. And they're realistically they're tricks, because the slow dance kind of breaks everybody's tension of being out on the dance floor.
Whoa, it's not what's more difficult. It's not really a simple question like that. But do you find it difficult when the area that they're eating in is separate or maybe in a different room than the dance floor? You find that to be more difficult or better?
It depends. So it's more difficult to the fact that now you actually have to plan out what you're doing, right? I think you guys had even touched on it on one of your other episodes. Like, Loretta Winery is like an awesome venue. But once grand entrance is done, and we usually try to dance people a little bit because we're there all the time, we'll dance people a little bit right after grand entrance because we know as soon as they go into the other side to have dinner, it's, salads, toasts, dinner. It's going to take a chunk of time. So then you have to plan to get people back into the bar room. So what we do there is we'll use parent dances as something to do after dinner, and that's that trick idea to get people back onto the bar side, and then you have to figure out what to do to keep them there. But like, you have to just kind of think things out a little bit better when you're in separate rooms, separate locations, as opposed to the maitre d' coming up to you and being like, hey, we got 10 minutes, dinner's running late, like, get them up and dancing, and people just literally have to get up and turn around to be on the dance floor. So it's not bad and it's not good. It's all just planning and how you do it. I think that a lot of times it works nice when it's all together because you get that 10 minutes in between salad and dinner. You get that little extra time that adds to the party, Yeah.
Other than
Planning.
the skill and talent of DJing, can we talk a little bit about the business side of things too? Like, what are some of your favorite ways to market yourself, to get clients and to grow your business to where it's at now?
So one of the things that I really like is using the idea of word of mouth and referrals, right? I know it sounds kind of cliche to just say, hey, if somebody saw you at a wedding, it makes it that much easier to sell them. But realistically, at every wedding that you do, if you have 100 people, and that's on the smaller side, watching what you're doing, when somebody else gets married, they're your advertising. They're the ones saying, hey, like, I saw this guy last week and he was great, or I'm getting married and I want to use you, and this and that. And that's the way I've tried to organically grow a little bit more. Still do bridal shows, still get out there and face-to-face with people. We get the opportunity to perform at some bridal shows or help host them. So it kind of gives you that one-on-one interaction with people where you don't need to feel awkward standing at a booth waiting for them to walk over and say boo to you. Because, when it comes to DJing, you might have a video playing, but you don't have like nice pictures to look at or different things to really attract people. So it's literally, you have to start a conversation to grab people over at the bridal show. But that organic referral process, I think, is a really awesome way to just kind of keep moving business forward. One of the companies that I used to work with is like, they're rock stars at media, and that's actually how Mike and I met. And at every wedding, we would put out videos and post online all the time and really be on top of things. And that's just another way to do it that I think really works out well, and you do get some stuff back from it. But being a DJ and kind of being in that realm and seeing guys like you guys that are out there taking pictures and taking video, like, you don't need another person taking video, taking pictures, and kind of bogging it down. So what I like to do is, like, I'll grab some clips from Mike or from other videographers that I'm working with and, like, just post that, or grab a picture from the photographer and post it after the fact, and it just makes it easier.
I have a question about that. So if you're utilizing the wedding guests as like advertising, essentially, by being great at what you do and getting to do, like, just being a great showman while you're doing emceeing and stuff, is there anything different that you do purposefully to make yourself visually seen by those people, like, versus just doing a good job being a DJ? Like, anything purposeful you do to go out of your way to, like, make sure people notice you?
Not necessarily, but the one thing I do make sure that we do is in the beginning of the night, before we do grand entrances, is introduce myself so they know my name, they know the company's name, the experience, and get an opportunity to connect the dots, or start connecting the dots. Because if they have a good time, they're going to come up to you, you talk to them a little bit, maybe hand them a card, things like that. But the real end goal is that follow-up with the bride and groom. Like, when you send them an email or send them a card or whatever it might be, and you throw in, like, a handful of business cards in that, thank you card that you send to them. They pass them around, and then that kind of gets the ball moving. I mean, there's been couples where in groups of friends, I've done like 8 or 9 weddings just from, one couple 5 years ago, and it's pretty cool to get that.
I feel like there's a lot more pressure on DJs and florists and also majorly makeup artists, stuff like that, to kill it on the day of. And I'm not saying there's not for photographers and videographers, but as far as making your presence known, making people aware of you, getting your name out there, letting people see you work and get comfortable with you, I feel like there's a lot more pressure than that. And photographers and videographers, I feel like we maybe have a little more opportunity to be introverted, because really the people are going to share their photos, share their videos, things like that. That's where it's a big piece of ours. And I think we kind of pride ourselves on also having a good experience on the day of. But I feel like there's a lot less pressure on us to do that, because there are a lot of photographers who are introverted and things like that.
I think the pressure is different, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for me, if people don't get up and dance, or it's not exactly the vibe I want to have, I can change it. And I know that things need to change. For you guys, like, the thing that would scare me with photography and video is, like, yeah, you can look in the back of your camera and kind of see what you have and hope that it was all right.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, you don't really know until you get back.
Yeah,
So,
leaving the wedding, you don't know what you have.
Yeah,
yet.
like I know
you
right
rocked
now
it.
if people are dancing or they're not, or if we gotta step it up or we don't. Like,
Right.
you guys are under the pressure to make sure you capture as much as possible, so you have everything
Options.
you need.
Right.
You know,
Imagine back when they were just doing film.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't see anything.
like
You know.
I would be nervous now
Yeah.
as a photographer or videographer losing the memory card.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I could only imagine
The film.
like the film, like
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
It gets exposed to light
yeah,
or something.
it's like, hold on, wait, the camera fell and the back got exposed to light, and
That's it. It's
we
gone.
got to start
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Can we rewind?
Yep.
Yeah, it can get crazy, and like I said, there's like you said, the pressure is different, and the feedback. You're dealing with instantaneous feedback, right? I do this, the result is this. We could try new lighting, we could try new stuff, and you kind of got to just go with it.
Yeah.
But that stuff all comes from experience and from making those mistakes, and from finding a method to say, I know if I shoot all of these things, I'll have enough.
Yeah.
Right. And that's really what it comes down to, is making sure that you have enough content. And we do a lot of prepping of clients beforehand, to say, okay, this is the type of stuff that is helpful to us to give us content. So letter readings, writing cards to each other, giving gifts to each other, doing a first look is going to make it so that we have more time and more things to get more content, to make sure that we get everything we need, right? Yeah. So you can do stuff on the front end to prep clients. Same thing with boudoir. It's like, if you bring one outfit, I can shoot that one. I mean, I can extend it out. I can do a ton of poses with that one outfit, and we can do stuff without it. And we can do stuff with blankets. We can do stuff with chairs, all those kind of different things. But the more stuff you bring, the more options we have. You don't have to try everything. And Gianna, my wife, who runs the studio with me, always tells somebody, bring something outside of your comfort zone. So buy the stuff that you like, and then buy like one thing that is, you're like, wow, man, I wish I could pull that off, and bring it. You can probably pull it off, right?
Yeah.
So for us, as far as creating content, we can kind of prep that. I think on your end, they're kind of giving you the content, saying like, this is what I want ahead of time, right?
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I do is I give all our customers, clients, couples, whatever you want to call them, I give them all my cell phone number. So leading into the wedding, at least for the last 2 months or so, especially after we do like a finals review, they have my cell phone. So like, I'll get that text message, hey, we're at a wedding and we just saw this, we want to do that at our wedding, or we just saw this and we hate it, make sure this doesn't happen at my wedding.
It's
so
the shoe game, man.
Yeah,
It's the shoe game.
Yeah, the shoe game. So we're not playing any games at any of the weddings that we do.
Oh, you don't play 7-Up?
Nah.
Oh, man.
Nah, man, nah.
Dodgeball, Red Rover.
But that's just, obviously if a couple really, really wants it, then we could talk about it and make it happen. But I always try to educate people a little bit into, again, how much time do you have for your wedding? If you have a 4-hour reception and you want to do all these things, just remember it's going to take away from dancing, or it's going to take away from going outside and getting that
Yeah.
sunset shot because we're inside playing a game or doing the Macarena or whatever you want to, like whatever you want to waste your time doing.
Keep it shuffle.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Go.
I was gonna say the time thing. Everyone thinks they have 4 hours, and I think they forget that you don't get introduced to 20 minutes into the
At
reception.
least. And if you have a big bradle party, it
Yeah.
could be like a half hour because you're looking for,
Yeah.
Louis or whoever disappeared for.
Dinner is 45 to an hour gone.
Yeah, and that's why, like I said, I always try to get a list from the bride and groom of what they want to hear at dinner.
Yeah.
Because I know we can play all that stuff. I know we have a good 30 minutes.
Yeah.
At least. And that kind of makes it where you're not just hitting play on some pre-recorded mix. You're playing stuff that's going to work for the bride and groom. And that's the other thing. When it comes to dinner, I try to make sure that whether it's myself or whoever's with me, one of us isn't leaving the DJ booth during dinner. Because one, we're playing the music that you want off of a list, so it's not pre-done. But then two, what if something changes? What if we all think dinner's coming out, everybody disappears, and the maitre d' is like,
Where'd they
hey,
go?
we got 15 minutes.
15 more
we
minutes,
need to catch up, and you're not there.
That happens so often.
There's things that happen all the time, right? Even when it comes to cake or anything like that, when there's different things going on, making sure that everybody is kind of close by, just so you can adjust. And sometimes whoever's emceeing might become the maitre d' for the cake, if there's nobody around. But if there's nobody playing music, you can't do all that stuff.
I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
What's one thing that you wish other vendors knew to make the couple's day better that would help you out as well?
I think that comes to what I was just even saying, is I wish that if everybody helped with details outside of what they normally do, right? As the DJ or the MC, getting a plate and getting a knife and a fork for the cake cutting isn't really in the job description.
You did that last weekend.
Yeah, but if nobody's there, you got to figure it out. You might have to run into the kitchen and go get it. The same goes with whether you're a photographer or videographer or, let's say even the maitre d'. If something goes different outside of your normal course of action, like playing fair together and playing nice together, sometimes the photographer or the videographer is not in the room and something's going to happen, I go find them and say, hey, you might want to grab this.
And that's why we love you.
I know.
Right.
But
And not
yeah,
bands.
and the same thing goes the other way. Sometimes the videographer or the photographer, they might want to take the couple outside at 7:25 because that's when sun's setting. But if they don't tell you, and then all of a sudden you're just looking around and going where's the bride and groom?
Yeah.
Oh, look, they're outside. And it kind of takes away. People don't realize when the bride and groom aren't in the room, it does change the vibe and the atmosphere of the room, believe it or not. At least I feel it, especially on the dance floor. If you could get the bride and groom on the dance floor, even if it's just for the first song of getting started, it definitely changes people's perspective of wanting to come out and dance with them and celebrate with them.
Right.
And then they could disappear and do whatever. But if they're not there, it's very difficult to pull off getting everybody to the floor. You're going to get the people that are there to party and dance, but getting that, that guy that doesn't really like to dance, he's not going to get guilted into not joining the bride and groom.
I feel like that's big for a lot of guests. They feel like they're involved in the day if the bride and groom are there dancing with them. They feel like I was involved in the wedding if the bride and groom are there. I have one thing that triggers feel bads at weddings, and it's when the bride is on the dance floor and somebody goes where's the groom? She's like, I don't know. And just looking around, and she's waiting for this guy, and he's out smoking a cigar with his buddies, and it's not a bad thing. You should do that. You should go smoke a cigar with your buddies because maybe it's all that kind of shit. But that is a feel bad moment for me because I'm just oh
yeah.
that
or
stinks.
The worst is if you don't know that the bride or the groom isn't in the room,
right?
And as an MC, you are doing something that you'd like to include the both of them on the center of the dance floor, and then now you've pointed out the fact that they're not spending time together, for their wedding, and it's all right, we're going to go find Ricky. We're going to go see where he is.
Dude.
But everybody that's out here, keep clapping your hands because we're just having a good time.
This is great stuff.
Good. Thanks for bringing that
No,
up.
like thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been really great. So
we said that at the end, man.
And I appreciate you inviting me for episode. What is it, like 15?
12.
yeah,
12.
Okay, that's
Stop. You've been invited for every episode.
it's because you live in like
Since
Rhode
the
Island.
episode one.
Yeah. Well, it was
Might
a
as well
trip.
be fucking Connecticut.
Yeah.
So like we have this whole entire podcast is a blast, and we definitely reached a cool, unique group of people.
Where are you going with
Are you
this?
breaking the fourth wall?
Is there like some
That's you
advice you would
guys.
give to people listening that maybe want to start being a DJ? Like anybody, like business advice that you say, hey, this is some stuff I did that made me really successful. Here's some pitfalls to watch out for, like stuff like that.
I think the best advice for somebody that wants to get started is to find somebody or a company that you can go out with and learn, because you're never gonna, even if you think you know music so well, and everybody could go buy equipment and do things, but you're not gonna understand really what goes on at a wedding or at an event, even if it's not a wedding, if you don't see it. Right? It's like, I know how to take pictures. Like, people hand me their phone all the time, or I have a camera, but I would never go shoot a wedding just because I'm decent at taking pictures and people like my Instagram photos. Like, you want to experience it. So I would do that. Like I said, in the beginning, when I was going out, I mean, I know I was 13, but like, I don't even remember getting paid in the beginning. Like, I was just learning. I think I got paid if we got a tip. Like, then the tip was mine. Like, that was like the thing. But yeah, going out and learning and seeing if you like it, first off, because everything seems like awesome in your head. But I mean, I'll be honest with you. I a couple of years ago made a decision to not do as many weddings, and a lot of it came from, I realized how much I missed out on. From, like I said, from being 13 and getting into the industry, every weekend was a hustle. Like, you're out, you miss weddings, you miss birthday parties, you miss hanging out with your friends, family, all these things. So unless you go out and experience it and can get past that stuff, you can't just jump into it. But I think, like, if you find the right people to learn from, then you make with it what you want. And I think that's kind of what I've done. I mean, the guys I started with on Long Island, they taught me a lot of the stuff that I utilize today. The guys that I've worked with since being down here, they taught me a whole different side of things, because weddings are different on Long Island than they are here, to be honest with you. The timeline is even different.
There's a lot more hairspray up there.
Yeah, a lot more hairspray and gel are in our bags and things like that. But it's just different. So, like, you have to experience it to get an understanding. Once you learn it, then, there's a whole
That makes a lot of sense.
untapped opportunity, I guess, is there for everybody. There's a lot of people getting married.
That makes a lot of sense. I feel like it's the same in our industry too. Like,
We're in the same industry.
Like, like in photography. When I started on photography, I tried a couple different things out, and like I found some things that I did not like. Thinking ahead of time, like, oh, I'm gonna love this, and I did not. It did not work out well. But then when I got into weddings, like, I loved it. Like, loved every second of it. So you're right. Like, I think, and I know people that are the opposite. Like, they tried weddings out and it was not for them. Like, they do like baby pictures and like family pictures, and they kill it with that.
And
so I feel like it's similar.
I think that's it too. Like, with DJing, like, there's people that are awesome party DJs. You're having a first communion and you want to play with hula hoops and do whatever you do.
Drop some gasolina. It's
They're-
all good.
Yeah, you
It's
can
all
do
good.
whatever you want, and they're
That's true.
awesome for that. Weddings are different, and I think it comes down to too is being realistic, right? Like, some people go, I got married and I paid X amount for my DJ. Like, I should DJ on the weekends. I could be making so much money. But don't forget all the other things that go
Yeah.
into it.
Try
It's
it
not
out.
just
Try it
DJing.
out.
You know what I'm
Try
saying?
it
Like, it that same 4 hours that your wedding was, if you go DJ like a birthday party, it's
Yeah.
different.
Let's hear it up for Kyle. He's turning 5 today.
But that's great advice, dude.
And the other thing too, Ted, just thinking about it, like, when you are in the wedding industry, you have to be open to doing different stuff. Like, there's plenty of people that might be great DJs, but when it comes to weddings, people want lighting, they want photo booths, they want different add-ons that either you have to meet the right people to help you with that, or you have to be willing to get into that realm too.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I've kind of tried to do too. Is it used to be, especially when I first got started, like you'd find somebody to come with you to events or to weddings, and they were like, what was the most inexpensive way to have that second person or that third person? And you know, you might have somebody once in a while that didn't really know how to DJ, and they were just standing there. I was doing all the work, or one of the other guys was doing all the work. Where now it like makes sense to invest in, you know, when we have a wedding, like it's me and another DJ like that's actually there. So if I'm not behind the booth, the other guy knows how to play all the music too. You know, there's no kind of lapse of skill between the two of us.
And you can call that defense in depth, or you know, redundant, or whatever you want to call it, to saying like, hey, let's make sure that your day is good. I bring another DJ who, if I drop dead, they can make sure, you know, they'll call my wife and kids, tell them I'm dead, but then keep playing music.
But it as silly as it sounds, that it makes sense, legit, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, you guys don't show up to a wedding with, if you're shooting it by yourself, you don't show up with one camera. No. You know, so
basically,
show up.
It's a Nikon Z601.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Just kidding. Sorry, Ted. Sorry, but, Nikon.
You know. Ted invested in a camera that only has one card slot, so that's what the joke is right now.
Yeah. It's a superhero card.
It'll go away eventually.
XQD.
Just give I love you or
rock on
for XQD.
XQD.
Dope.
But yeah, so
made
like
by Sony.
It is.
I know.
The redundancy is a good backup. So I bring at least 2 laptops and 2 hard drives with me. Whoever's with me has their laptop and hard drive. They have all the music that we need for the day, formalities wise, and it just makes sense, right? And it's added value to couples. Couples are gonna pay more when you can show them the value in it. You know, like if you're just a high price, there's nothing more to it. So if you can show the value, that's great. And it actually worked out. That kind of planning process. Back in September of last year, I had gotten hand surgery at the end of September, and I had a wedding in the first week of October that had like everything that you could possibly add to your wedding, from uplighting, media screens, intelligent lighting, monogram, like everything. And I literally couldn't do anything with one of my hands. So I couldn't carry any equipment, I couldn't do whatever. But I had my crew of 4 guys that each one of them is an actual DJ. Knows how to do all the equipment, knows how to do everything. So I showed up, MC, did my thing, but the party went off flawless because it didn't rely on me being the one plugging all the wires, and it didn't rely on me being the one to play all the music. It was like the team effort, and it worked out really well.
Do you find it tough to find, or did you initially find it tough to find that team?
So I've always had a group of guys with me. So like up on Long Island, the group of guys that I started working with, like we were super tight. In fact, when I first moved down here, one of the guys, Mark, would actually come from Long Island and do a lot of the events with me down here while I was still building my group up here. You know, over the course of the last few years, I've had to find like the people that are gonna fit the mold of what I want to do, and again can help get to that point that we want to get to for each one of our couples. And you know, found them, and they're guys that'll go out and book their own weddings and do their own thing, but at the same time, having that list or that roster allows me, you know, 2 or 3 months in advance to be like, hey, you know, come with me on this, and have some people to pick from. It's not just one assistant. It's not just one DJ.
I think Mike could probably speak to that too. It's just like on the video end, it's like building a solid team is I don't say it's difficult because there's so many good people out there, but the right people who know how to use the right equipment, know how to your processes and procedures, your way of doing things, is it seems like it's increasingly difficult. The more you up your quality, the more you're upping your add-ons. I'm sure for you, the person who's going to know how to do everything you got to do.
But I think like you guys probably do it too. Is like when you're sitting with people and you're explaining what you do, right? When you're having that initial meeting with a couple, as much as you want them to love you want them to love the company and the process. Because let's be honest, a lot of our stuff is booking out like a year in advance, a year and a half in advance. Nobody knows what's going to happen knock on wood, God forbid something happens. As
forbid.
a shooter, you break your arm. It's going to be really difficult to carry a camera around. But if people know that this is the look of your company and this is the video or the photos that you're going to get from all of us collectively, they know that you're going to help them and put them in the right hands. And the same thing goes with entertainment. Like I said, I feel like I missed out on a lot of stuff on the weekends, booking myself way in advance, that like now, if people are cool with it, like the company's getting booked for your wedding and it's going to be one of us, and most people like that, because realistically, I don't want to also be the guy taking over your wedding with all personality, and I'm sure you guys see it on wedding videos. Like, you don't want to have a wedding video where 90% of it is the MC or the DJ talking on the microphone, yelling and screaming, telling people to get up, so if you play the right music, you have a good time.
That would never be the wedding video, Joe. Nobody's shooting that.
Well, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, guys are on the microphone all the time.
I did have a DJ tell me once, "You're gonna want to film this part." And I was like, "What do you mean?"
Never what you want.
And he goes, "I do this really cool thing that gets everybody up. You're not gonna want to miss this." And I was like, "Well, can you tell me what it is?" He's like, "Nope." I'm like, "Let me explain something to you. I'm not gonna fucking film it unless you tell me what it is, because I don't know what I need to film or where I need to be. So if you want it to look cool on the video and you want me to like hook you with some footage, tell me what it is."
Did he rap?
And he's like, "All right, I do this thing. I have everybody rub each other's shoulders. I get them up, get them on his way. I'm rubbing each other, and they turn around and rub the other person's shoulders, and then we get them up. It flopped.
Yeah.
It
Well,
flopped.
sometimes stuff like that works, though.
Sure.
Because, like I said, there is always going to be somebody that comes up with that trick to get people out.
So do you have any? I don't want to say tricks. That seems
Yeah, it's
stupid.
not necessarily a trick.
Like,
but
what's your thing?
There's
What's
a couple of songs that I like to use that have like a clap intro to it, where it's just the beat of clapping, right? And using that to invite people out to the dance floor before we start playing anything. Get them to the edge, get the bride and groom, the couple out to the center, and start that clap, and then get everybody just to moderately join in, build the volume up a little bit, and then from there, like, drop the song, and people are already on the edge of the dance floor.
So you're telling me that people respond positively to the clap?
Yes.
You're saying that you, if somebody wants a good
give
wedding
people the
experience, DJ Joe Falco will give you the clap.
Yes.
I'm
And
sorry.
some hot sh-
I had to go there. That's
It
dope.
always
That's
goes
dope.
there, but it works.
That's it, man.
I would say it works probably 9.5 times out of 10, but I wouldn't really necessarily try it if I thought that it wasn't going to work for a certain wedding. But for some people, like,
Right.
you might get them out for a song and they kind of disappear, but at least you had them out.
You drop me gente and clear the dance
Yeah,
floor.
just drop it, let it go.
So we did a wedding, and it was a very religious wedding, and there was not a lot of dancing at all. There was like three or four people that danced the whole night, and the DJ that was working there was like visually upset about it. He like felt like it was a personal reflection on his skills and ability, and that was clearly not the case. Like, it was just the group of people that were there were not into that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like, why do you think like he let that hit him like it was his fault?
Could you take it the most personal? Like when there's nobody dancing or nobody reacting to something, I sit there and I like look out and I'm like, that person's looking at me. They must be talking shit about me. Like,
Yep.
Or that person's at the bar and they're like eyeing me down. Like, and you take it personal because you're like, this normally doesn't happen. And you, once you break past that feeling personally attacked, you go, all right, maybe it's something with like the last 6 genres of songs that I tried. Let's try something different. Like, or, maybe this is the kind of group that like slow songs is what's going to work. I mean, realistically,
8th grade dance it.
yeah, 8th grade dance, ladies' choice.
Maybe the New York skyline just turned on.
Yeah, right. Well, that there's certain venues that kill you too.
Right.
Outside is awesome. Like a day like today, compared to the last 3 or 4 days, it's been raining. If your wedding was today, nobody's gonna be inside.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's true.
But you have to kind of, I guess, make lemonade, right, out of the lemons. So everybody's idea of fun is different, and once you realize that, like, and I try to explain that to brides and grooms, right? Like, if you have a venue that has an inside and an outside, if there's a lot of people outside, don't take it personally. That's how they're enjoying themselves. You might be outside at one point, enjoying yourself, like you said, smoking a cigar with your buddies or doing whatever.
Right.
So remember that everybody's level of fun is different. People like to hang out at the bar. People like to dance by their table as opposed to on the dance floor. The idea is to get everybody together, and we're going to work to make that happen. But sometimes you have to work with what you got.
It's hard to gauge couples too. Like, I'm not saying like judge a book by its cover type thing or just by look, but I mean like the people, like, we'll meet with them ahead of time and they seem like super reserved, and then DJ Joe Falco drops Get Low and they're out there, man. It's like we did this wedding. It was at the Mirion, and it was on a Sunday, and they had the whole place to themselves, which was awesome. It was pouring outside, terrible day. A very, very, very deeply religious couple. It was an kind of half Indian, half Christian wedding. I don't know how else to explain it. It was,
I learned about
it was
that.
like they were wearing Indian clothing, but they were
they're Christians.
Christians, right? So their whole church was there, and then all their Indian family and friends were there, and it was a dry wedding, right, on a Sunday like afternoon. And I'm like, dude, this is it. And I've told the story a couple times. You can make it like Ted's story before. I think I've told it on other episodes. Nobody on the I was like, there's nothing. They did like a karaoke thing, and it flopped.
That didn't work well.
It was super awkward. It was like crazy, pain in the ass to edit. But anyway, so the DJ gets up, DJ Bishop gets up and just comes out and starts like dropping like hip hop, Bollywood, like Indian music, and they went berserk. I'm like, nobody's drinking, nobody's partying, nothing. Berserk. And then he drops the next thing you know, Cupid Shuffle. It was like, boom, everybody on the dance floor for the next hour and a half.
Yeah,
it was insane.
To that point, and I think when Mike has been out with me on some weddings, like, if you don't do what you normally do, the reaction's gonna be different, right? A bride and groom are booking you because they know what you do. Mm-hmm. So, and it gets back to that whole idea, like the music list, right? Like, if you let the music list dictate the entire night, it's going to take away from what you are there to do. And people are paying you for you. If they didn't care who was there and they literally wanted their list, they'll find somebody that'll do it for a couple $100.
Right.
So you have to figure out, like,
all you need is Napster and an iPod.
Basically, right?
Or Zune.
You have to just do what you do. And the same comes with the photography stuff, right? Like, you're gonna have people that probably give you guys like a list of all the shots. Oh, here's a Pinterest album of every shot that I love, and some of them might work and be cool, but realistically, like, they booked you because they looked at your pictures.
Right.
So do what you do, incorporate their stuff. And it'll be good. I mean, most of the time, when I second guess myself with where to go with music, it doesn't have the same reaction as just doing the first thing.
I get that a lot in a boudoir, where I'll go to take a shot from a certain angle, and it's very vulnerable for people, so they're very worried about it. And I get that. Now, generally, I've made them feel comfortable enough. They see my stuff. They know I'm going to put out something good.
It's surprising,
but
that they see you and they're still comfortable.
Right. You son of a bitch. It's the beard. I think it just makes everybody feel okay. That's what it is. So, no, it's my wife.
Segue!
We do get the same kind of thing in boudoir photography, and I'm sure in wedding photography as well. I've done a lot less of that than boudoir, but with boudoir, being so vulnerable, being in your underwear or nude or something like that, I'll go to take an angle, like a shot from me being low and them being high, and they're like, oh, that's not gonna look good because, like, you're not supposed to take photos from that angle. That's what everybody knows. You're supposed to take it down this way. It's more flattering. Sure, in that situation, I'm shooting 15,000 different angles and situations and focusing on certain things, and I'll just go like, hey, I would never take an unflattering photo of you. That's mostly true. Those are the ones you don't see, right? Because sometimes you try an angle and it's like, nope, that didn't work, so you go to a different one. But I'm not going to give you unflattering photos. I'm going to make you look good. I got to do what I got to do. But there's certain things that they may be like, I don't want to be on that, like by that window. It's like, I'm going to make it look good. Trust me, and that's what you got to do. You can't let them dictate what you're going to do. There's certain clients that don't want to go outside or don't want to be in a certain area. We had a couple recently tell us, they're like, hey, the church we booked was beautiful, but they decided, this is crazy. I've never seen it like this. They said they're doing construction in the church, so they ripped out all the pews, and it's all folding metal chairs. Worse than the ones we're sitting on now, right? we don't want any chairs in any of the shots. So I said, okay. Ted was my second shooter for the wedding. We're gonna shoot all the same shots we always do. The big wide shots, everybody. The shots of the mom in the metal chair during the ceremony. Like, we're gonna shoot everything we normally did. And guess what? There's people filling in. You're barely gonna notice the chairs.
Yeah.
You're not gonna notice.
We tried a couple times.
They took out all the chairs. Right? Yeah. Of course, we did our best. But like, I'm still gonna do what I gotta do, and they're happy they have those photos.
Yeah.
But the thing is that's what we talked about before, about like letting them, say their piece, the things they want, and their preferences, and then we're still going to do what we're going to do to give them amazing stuff, and they're going to be happy they have it. I've never seen a church do it that much. They covered every statue.
Yeah, it felt like we were going into a horror film.
Dude, it was crazy.
Like every statue was covered.
There were
and we're like,
buckets, 5-gallon buckets around. All the pews were ripped out. They were covering all the statues so they didn't get hurt during the construction and didn't get dusty and stuff like that. But it was just like, it looked weird. Like the statues' faces were covered. Like they couldn't see this sham of what
weird vibe.
It was very
like,
weird. It looks amazing. The photos look great.
Yeah.
And it was a really nice ceremony. Surprisingly, I said, hey, what do you guys? What's the priest like? Because we were coming up to shoot the wedding, and they're like, he's very North Jersey. I was like, oh, okay, cool. This is gonna be great. So I just gave him some gabagool, and we were all good.
He literally goes, he's a dick.
Yeah,
like, okay.
It's a North Jersey dick. I wasn't gonna say that part, but yeah, I don't think you can call a priest a dick. But yeah, it said he's a North Jersey asshole, and I was like, all right, cool, it'll be fine. And we got up there, and they were right. There were a few moments where we had some problems, but it was all good. We worked great with everybody, and even that guy, I'm still gonna do what I need to do, and we got out of his hair. No big deal.
To that point, like, you're gonna do what you need to do, but you're also going to listen to what they say and try to coordinate, right? Like, you're not going to sit there and take pictures of the chairs, right?
Look at these chairs!
Like,
Fearless award.
Black and white, super, whole bunch of clarity and contrast.
Like,
it's in.
Lots of contrast.
Guys, I'll meet you outside. I'm just going to grab some photos real quick of these chairs.
Detail shots.
But
those are those Home Depot Johns.
But what I'm saying is, like,
it was North Jersey. John's is Philly, man.
We're kidding about it.
That gabagool.
But in their mind, that's what they're thinking. They're like, oh, I saw you take a beautiful picture of like the empty church. Just so you know, don't take that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like, don't overthink your wedding either.
Right.
Like I said before, people want to hire you because they feel comfortable. Right. And I know Ted and I have had this a couple of times with couples that we're working with together. Like, I'll talk to them about photography, and they're like, yes. They see Ted's stuff. They're like, let's book him. And then after they talk to him, they're like, oh, we're so happy we talked to you. It's like such a stress relief. And I'm like, yeah, well, I don't know about photography. I could show you this stuff.
Right.
But you still want to talk to them, and they want to tell you, like, they want to go down that list with the photographer. Like, this is what we love. This is what we don't love. And it just gives them a level of comfort, even though they know at the end of the day, you're just going to give them the best end result possible based off of, what you do.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, yeah, aside from the fear of spending money for something that might not be as good as they wanted to, like, they also have, they don't know what the product's going to look like. They don't know, like, is this going to be like what I want? Is this not going to be what I want? And then when you actually meet with them and talk with them on the phone or in person, you show them stuff like, okay, this is exactly what we want. Or they know, like, this isn't what we want.
See, I feel like for entertainment, whether it's lighting, or how the party's going to go. Like, people look at video and they look at pictures and they're like, oh, I don't want that. Or, oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Not realizing that lighting in every venue is going to give you a different result. Again, you watch a video and it's like, you're playing awesome music and everybody's having a good time. But at your wedding, that music might not work. Like, so for us, it's a little different because you can't say, like, let's watch video clips from 100 different weddings and tell me what you like. Like, you have to kind of piece part it.
Well, I've been in a meeting with you with the customers. We're having a wedding this summer, and I remember you saying, like, I don't just play the same song every time expecting the same result. I have learned the skill of feeling out the room, and I've learned how to adapt to this stuff. Thank you. And like figure that out so I know what to play to get the crowd going, to make sure everybody's having fun. So you're not just, and I think you just telling the customer that, they get it, like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's not going to just hit play and walk away and have a sandwich. Like.
And I think the sad thing is there's probably a lot of people that do that. And I know you guys have had conversations with everybody that's been on here. There's different levels of professionalism and where you are in your career, right? Like, there's people that do the same thing every single time. there's no talent to it. They're just taking a picture and whatever. They're just playing a song and whatever. And then there's other people that there's more to it and more of a planned process. And that's part of what everybody needs to do in our industry, I think, as far as like when you're talking to a customer, a client, is a prospective client, I should say, is explain to them like, yeah, you know, there's somebody that is probably going to charge you less, but ask them about this, and this, or, you know, are they doing this?
And there's some stuff that you could put words to that they can say like, yeah, I'd do that, but it's just not the same.
Yeah.
It's that level. I don't know. I was talking all the way back here. It's my first day. That level of professionalism that you're talking about and experience in knowing what works and what doesn't. It's okay. So someone could be doing this for 30 years and have all the experience in the world, but remembering that almost every part of this day is an art form.
Yeah.
Being a florist is an art form. Being a DJ and an entertainer or in a band or a photographer, it's an art form. I've seen weddings where the DJ, highly recommended, has been in the industry for 20 years, done a ton of weddings, and then actually it was at that venue right over there, Mallard Island. Plays like 3 back-to-back Michael Jackson songs full length, 3 back-to-back Earth, Wind & Fire songs full length, and it's like, dude, what's happening?
Yeah.
People are like just walking off. Like, like what are you doing? And that seems like a amateur thing, like just press play. But he's standing there like,
Yeah,
like he's into it, man.
it.
What's wrong with Michael Jackson?
Nothing. Well, actually a lot, but.
Was it Michael Jackson followed by R.
Allegedly.
Kelly? Followed by
Allegedly.
Right. Allegedly, yeah.
I don't know if R. Kelly's allegedly anymore.
No,
No,
that
not
shit's
him.
legit.
No, I was talking about
That's
Michael
legit.
Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know about Michael Jackson. I mean,
Hashtag believe in
enough
teachers, man.
people say enough stuff.
Shimona.
At least once.
But
He tried it.
to that same point, I don't think it makes a difference how long you've been in the industry
Yeah,
to have that level, right? Like, I don't know if everybody knows how Mike and I met off of Craigslist.
Grinder.
Yeah.
I was gonna. You beat me to it.
Grinder.
Yep.
Get them as
I
the,
did not know that,
next
no.
That's a funny
sponsor.
story.
Did you give Mike the clap?
how'd that happen?
So the company I was working with, like I said, awesome at putting media and content out there.
Super pumped about lighting.
So I needed somebody to come with me to start filming events because I was doing it once in a while, and it's a lot to film it, edit it, do whatever. So I'm like, let me throw an ad on Craigslist. So I put an ad on. Now, I got some real crazy responses that were like guys shooting with like a VHS camera.
Half it was. Why did you start out with age, sex, and location? I don't know. It was weird.
It was weird. I just wanted to know where everybody was and
right.
be able to categorize my candidates.
When you talk about size, that meant camera, right?
Yeah.
Memory card.
We'll cut that part.
So
8 gigabyte.
I had this ad up there, and Mike was one of the guys that reached out, and I was like, oh, like come by the office and let's talk.
You look cute.
So like as we're going back and forth through email or text, whatever it was at first, I was like, yeah, I do about like 60 to 70 weddings a year. And he walks in, and he's like, before he walked in, he's like, I'll be honest with you. When you said you did like 60 weddings a year, I was like, this guy's full of shit. Like, there's nobody's doing that.
Didn't I email you? I'm like, if you really do 60 events a year.
Yeah, he wrote something to the event
Like
that,
a dickhead.
if you really do 60 events a year, I don't know if I could be there for every one or something like that. And then he came in, and I handed him like literally the dates for like the next 18
It's like a
months.
stack.
And
I
he's like,
remember this happening.
and he's like, oh yeah. He goes, so I guess I could come to most of these. But like
He's
when
like,
you,
bro, you're full of shit.
but I think at the time, like you just kind of really got started with
Right.
wedding videos, and when you talk about like where your level of professionalism is, like the videos that he was putting out as my promo videos looked like people's wedding video. Like he was taking the time and doing it. So it's not a level of how long you've been in something.
Right.
It's the effort that you're going to put into it, and if you actually enjoy it. You know,
Right.
there's people that treat this like a job, and they don't enjoy it, and those are the people that are going to hit play and let the song play the whole time, or just record stuff. But it was cool because not only was Mike helping me shoot stuff and editing it, but he was helping me set up and plug in and do all that.
You guys
good
had a
stuff.
real connection.
Yeah, we had a good connection.
I agree with you about the loving what you do thing. I feel so lucky that I found this career. I could not do anything else.
So let me
I
ask you
love
this.
it so much.
Recently, this has been a full jump for you, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that there's a limit to how much a year you would do to still love it? Like, could it ever turn into
good question.
work for you and not?
I don't know. I don't think I've hit that yet. Last year I shot over 50 weddings, over 55 weddings. Yeah, no.
Like only for people over 55.
That's a
I
niche.
specialize in senior
It's a
weddings.
niche. But
Specialize in
that's a great
senior weddings,
question.
and I have to get their photos to them right away, just in case.
That's a great question.
He wants 100%
That's
deposit.
cold. That's cold, Joe.
just in case.
I'm gonna
I
need your
don't- I don't
doctor to
know.
sign off on this.
I mean, obviously, there's a limit. Like one should work in
Well,
general. Like
I'm
if-
just thinking because like video and photography, like it's a long day of actually shooting.
Yeah.
You know, like you're shooting, right? I mean, I don't know exactly
10
how
a.m.
long,
night
but
sometimes.
usually like 10, 11 hours.
so that's all shooting. Like our days, even though people are like, oh, the wedding's only 4 hours, it is a long day still, and Mike can attest to it. Like
Yeah.
you show up 2 hours, 3 hours before a ceremony, you're there for at
An
least
hour
another hour
after.
after. But like to be actually actively shooting, I was just wondering, like, can you do like 2 or 3 a weekend and not feel burnt out, or does it just too like hit you guys? Like, what is?
Let me tell you the healing power of keto.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, jeez.
So before we get into that, let's not. Two a weekend, I think, is sustainable easily.
Yeah.
Triples, I think even the strong, even Mike the Machine, gets beat down after a couple triples.
I don't believe it.
I think so.
He just eats more bacon and goes back
Listen,
at it.
since we were in high school, you couldn't stop Mike. Like if there was work to be done, he was not sleeping. He was not doing anything. He's been like that forever, and I think he'll be like that forever until he drops fucking dead. But
Soon.
but you put this dude on a triple wedding weekend. I think maybe like 2 or 3 of those in a row.
Well,
I don't
it's
know.
also
I'm
so,
speaking
like,
for you.
Cyclical.
Why don't Mike? You want to say one fucking word this episode? What are you doing? Answer the
Got some
question.
gnats in your mouth?
What do you think?
I think.
Shut up.
I think it's personal.
Oh, his mic worked.
I wasn't sure if this worked, guys. I think it's personal, like, because we know so many people that think 20 and 30 weddings is all they can do. Like, they're burnt out after that. But
Right.
I don't feel that. Why does my mic sound like that?
Your mic sounds.
the first time
it's
you're
the first time
talking.
you're speaking
It's
into
the
it.
first time you've heard your
fucking Joe.
voice.
The nets filled in.
Is this
all
what my
the little
voice sounds
holes.
like?
Hey, guys, I'm here. I don't feel that way. I don't get burnt out on weddings, but I have scaled back on doing triples.
Yeah.
Because when you do, like, triples back to back, that starts to, you just get exhausted.
Now-
That's got to be the same for everything. Like the band that I was in, and anything that you're giving it your all. Because like the way we are when we do a wedding, it's like giving it everything
Yeah.
you have. When I was playing in the bar band, it was like a 3-hour show. 3 hours isn't that bad, but it's the setup time ahead of them. You give it everything you have. You leave it all on the stage, and then you got to
You do it
pack all
again.
that shit up. And then the next day you're doing it again, and you're getting home at like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And that's like weddings sometimes. We get home at like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, depending on where it is. Probably usually like 2 at the latest. But it's like everything. And to do that 3 times in a weekend, like in a row, that's a lot, man.
Well, and then for us, we wake up on Monday and have to edit stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Like,
that's it.
there's
It's-
more.
and it turns into more of a thing. I was just curious because, like, I know for me,
It's fucking personal, man.
I took it real personal.
That
But-
one time.
This one time, no, but
Why
like,
would you say
Why bring it up?
It's a good question.
I feel like you can bring more to the table. To Tommy's point, like when you're not making
Yeah.
people just a number, right?
Mhm.
And that's part of what I try to do now with couples is really sit down and chat with them and make it more of a personal thing, but then at the same time, like for their wedding, not have like a stack of 3 sets of paperwork for a weekend, and try to not really book a triple. Doubles we'll still do once in a while, but like I feel like once you get to that 3, it's just so much. So like we might book it and Tom or one of my other partners will do it, but I don't really want to be the main person for 3 because I just feel like then you even get into that whole idea of like, well, this worked last night, like let me try it again.
Yeah.
Like, or I'm so tired, like I don't know, like and it's tough because as much as you don't want to put your personality into it, like grand entrance and different things, like you have to be on. You can't just hide, you know.
Yeah.
I always tell couples at bridal shows, like when we say we don't do hour packages and stuff like that, I say, this is my day. This is all I'm doing. I don't care if it starts at 1. I may maybe eat breakfast with my family, but I'm focusing on my gear. I'm ignoring everything else. I'm getting everything ready, and this is my day, and that's it.
Yeah.
I know people who are able to do like an engagement shoot in the morning and then go shoot a wedding. I'm like, are you out of your damn mind? Absolutely not.
There's people that do that with entertainment too. Like, you know, they'll meet with couples on a Saturday morning and then go DJ a wedding or do
time ever. When we were in the bar band, one time we did a 3 hours set at like lunchtime at this bar, and then we did a 3-hour set at a night bar. Oh my God, I've never been in so much pain in my life. And they were a block away from each other, and I was dead.
But it also matters how old you are.
Oh my God, I was like
22.
22.
Not that we're old,
No.
but like when you're younger.
Ted is.
We have to say
Ted is?
that. We have to say that.
What, that you're old?
Is
We're
Ted
not
the
that old.
oldest?
How old are you?
Yeah, Ted's the oldest.
I'm 33.
You really 33?
Yeah.
Ted's the
I'm
oldest.
the oldest.
Don't,
Mike, how
don't
old are
look
you?
at my receding hairline and be like, oh, you can't.
Yo, don't talk about receding hairline.
No, what I was gonna
wait,
say
where's
was
yours?
like about the thing, like to say
My hair had to go away because of my receding hairline.
That's right.
to
Are you
agree
29
with
yet?
Tommy.
Huh?
You 29 yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're the same age. We're the youngest. We're the babies.
To agree with Tommy,
I got the most kids. Well, no, me and Mike. Go ahead.
I would love another kid.
Jesus,
I
Ted.
said no.
Mike and I have the most kids, and we're the youngest. What's up with that,
She
man?
watches all these episodes with
That's
me.
great.
And every time I mention
Busy.
having another kid, she like hits me. She's gonna hit me while we watch this one. but to agree with Tommy, like on the let's say a Saturday morning wedding, you know, I'm getting ready for stuff. Like my wife's like, oh, you don't have to leave for 3 hours. You want to go do some stuff in the yard? And I'm like, no, like why are you talking to me? Like,
Don't even talk to me today.
I'm focused so much on my timeline, the portraits I want to
It's a
get,
lot.
my batteries, like not forgetting my memory cards, like all this stuff. My mind is just not there because I'm so focused on that wedding.
It's the same as telling somebody that works a Monday through Friday 9 to 5 job, like, why don't you wake up at 5 o'clock and do some stuff before you go to work? And most people be like, well, that's stupid.
Yeah.
You'd be like, well, I just happen to wake up earlier than I need to go to work, but today's a work day.
Yeah.
You know, the same goes when you come home, right? Like, sometimes I know, like, my wife will be like, oh, you know, it's like 2 o'clock. Like, when are you coming to bed? I'm like, I just got home. Like, I want to eat something. I want to wind down. And then that turns into making the night even longer. Like,
You know what's funny? I was talking to these guys about getting up earlier during my 9 to 5 week, Monday through Friday, getting up early, like 4 o'clock in the morning, and doing some stuff. And starting to work out, right? So I was gonna do something specific. I got a heavy bag, and I haven't set it up yet. Haven't got the area set up yet. And I've tried to just start waking up at 4. I was like, yeah, I know I won't do that thing that I'm planning on doing at 4. And I've had the hardest time. I'll get up, but I have a hard time like getting out of bed and going. And I gotta leave sometimes by 4:30, 5 o'clock to go to work. But I don't have that thing set that I want to do.
yeah.
So I have a hard time getting motivated. It is difficult to get that started. Once you get it started, I think it's pretty easy to keep it going. But it's hard to make that happen.
Plus, it takes him 20 minutes to walk from his bedroom to the basement. Got a mansion.
I don't have a mansion. I do not.
He's got a dog with a saddle he rides down the stairs.
It's like the elevator
dog's a
goes
poodle.
kind of slow. I can't really get down there.
I don't. It takes a while. No, it's not. None of this is true.
I'll be honest with you, when the elevator's out, I don't even leave my room.
Bring me food. No,
He's like the servants.
no,
He's like ringing bells looking for somebody, and his wife comes in like, what the fuck are you doing? We don't have anybody here. But you came, right?
It's funny that I think Mike and I, when we were driving down to Tennessee, we had a whole conversation on this for like 10 hours. It was when I'm doing something, I don't want to do anything else.
Right.
If that's my day, I don't want to talk about anything else. I had an incident recently. The incident wasn't really an incident, but I was going to the gym, and like as soon as I put my shoes on and I'm going, like, don't talk to me. And we had other things to do in the area where the gym is, so I was like, oh, we'll just all drive together. I'll drop you off and I'll pick you up when you're done. The car ride with like the kids, they weren't like acting up, but it was just like the kids in the car and her, and she's talking to them like, nope, I'm going to do work, okay? I'm going to do something, and I'm trying to focus. I got to get my mindset. I'm like, we're never doing this again, ever. Like, I need to focus, and that's the same thing with weddings. Like you said, like in the morning, why are you talking to me?
Yeah.
I got a wedding in 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's only 15 minutes away. Stop talking to me. I gotta get focused. I gotta get into the mindset to do that, to create. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's definitely a thing that happens.
Yep. So.
Yeah, I have like a. That's the one thing I don't stress about anything. But if I have a wedding and I have to leave at 9, or let's say 12, it's a late wedding, and someone is doing something and they're like, "Oh, I'll be back by 12." Like, I can't do it.
Yeah,
It
no.
throws my whole vibe off. I'm like, nope. Like, I don't. No.
It's crazy because
Weddings are a big deal.
Yeah.
right.
You know, it's not like a repeatable like we'll
One
reschedule. You know, like
Right.
It's a big deal.
There's definitely far less pressure than like portrait sessions and stuff like that outside of weddings.
Yeah, like
I'll
we
reshoot this
drove
shit, I
the
don't
Jeep
care.
through like 3 feet of salt water. It's like, I don't
Yeah.
care if this thing dies. We're getting there.
Literally, to get to his Jeep, I got pulled over for making wake with my car. If anybody knows what that is, it means making waves with your car.
Someone's like, the engine's gonna die. Like, we're gonna get there. Though.
We're getting there.
But that's it.
It was in a
right?
hurricane.
You know, that's something when you're talking about like when people are getting started that they don't realize. Like,
Yeah.
you get sick today and you have a wedding on Friday.
go.
Like, you gotta go.
Yeah, your network is
You know,
big for that.
There's been a lot of times that, you know, I've had a sore throat or like can't really talk. You know,
Didn't have enough gabagool.
the mozzarella.
The mozzarella went bad.
Oh, the
I didn't have the gabagool. I had the prosciutto.
The mozzarella was.
The guy was
bad.
being a fucking gemelli.
The mozzarella was really dry.
They didn't simmer the sauce long enough.
You know what's funny though? To sum up the point I think you're making, I was listening to a podcast on the
You
way
didn't
over
give me
here.
a chance.
Right, listening to a podcast on the way to come over here. No, I think it applies. It applies to what you started to say. I interrupt guests. Get over it. No, this is how we treat our fucking guests on this show here. No, so I was listening to a podcast on the way over here, Joe Rogan's podcast. Shout out to Joe Rogan. No, I'm just kidding. He does not listen to this. But it was when people start. He was talking about drug use and things like that and addiction, but really it applies.
I definitely wasn't going.
No, it applies to everything.
This is not where I was going.
If you, he said, f up. But let's say if you screw up repeatedly, eventually you become comfortable with screwing up.
Yeah.
If you're gonna be, and I immediately just thought of like weddings and jobs and professionalism, stuff like that. I'm like, if you call out or say, hey, sorry, I can't make your wedding, or you don't deliver the photos on time or things like that, and you get used to that and it becomes acceptable to you, you're not going to last in the industry, and you're not going to be taken seriously as a professional, and it's bad. You can't let that become comfortable for you.
But it's not even letting it get to that point. It's just like you have to be comfortable doing what you need to do, whether you're sick, whether it's snowing,
Yep.
whether it's raining, whether like things don't stop. I think the only wedding I ever had cancel and reschedule was around Hurricane Sandy,
Right.
and it was just one. Like, but other than that, like, there's been times where it snows and there's like a foot of snow on the ground.
Yeah.
And you got
Gotta
a
go.
fucking wedding to go to.
Right.
Like, you got to figure it out. Like,
Vermont.
Yeah. I did one wedding in the snow and half the guests couldn't even make it.
but that's it. Like,
But you made it.
I made it. Oh yeah.
You have
but
to.
you have to. Like,
Got
you don't
my
have a
snowboard.
choice.
I better be dead if I'm not making it to a wedding.
But-
Like, you can't do it.
Do you realize? And now here I am asking questions, but
We got Tommy Susparo on this episode.
We got- the interviewer has become the interviewee has become the interviewer. I fucked that up.
like when you're looking for
Apologize.
people to start helping you, right? Like second shooters or even just assistants or whatever. Like, if you get that call like on Thursday, like,
See?
hey, I can't make it on Friday, like that's it. Like at that point, I don't really know that you understand what you're doing, right? I mean,
Yeah.
That's the fastest way to kill your career.
Yeah.
Because it's a small industry too.
but
It is.
but
yeah, it's
that's
different from like working at a retail store where like have 30 employees and
Someone
there's
can pick
someone
up the
else gonna
slack.
pick it up.
But
Like
I guess
this is
that-
not the same thing.
That's where like building that network and having that list and hoping that somebody's not working on Friday
Well,
worked.
Yeah, I was gonna say we just went through that, like working the list, finding second shooters, because literally people bailed days before a wedding. Like,
That's insane.
Yeah.
yeah, and it was like, I'm not going to bed till I find this person. Like,
Yeah.
and it worked.
And
But
kill them.
that's-
No.
But that's also
Not that one. The other
making sure that you have people that you can rely on that you know are going to get the job done.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be calling around looking for a friend. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like, hey, can you send somebody?
Can you stand with this tripod?
Hey, Ted, is your wife busy? Because we need an extra body. Like, can she make believe like she's
can't say
taking
that.
pictures?
Yeah, and then sometimes you have to kick in more. Like with this one,
Wait,
he's like,
stop. Ted
What?
said I can't say that. What were you going to say,
Oh.
Ted?
No, there was someone who did some services for us at our home when we moved to our new house, and like my mother-in-law made a comment once. She's like, "Hey, I thought this person was like bringing professional help, but that's like I think this guy's wife is helping him out with stuff." I was like, "Oh, she's trained." I didn't know. I was just trying to
Defend the person.
defend a little bit, but like they did great. But it's just a point of like you're not going to just hire anybody to come work for you if you're trying to be professional. Like people that are going to do a solid job each time.
Yeah.
And so I'll give you an example. I brought my wife to a job once. She had shot. So when Mike and I first started, she shot weddings with us a couple times. But it had been like a year. She hadn't done it in like a year and a half. And I needed somebody, and it was a really small wedding. I was like, I really just need somebody with me. And I brought her, and just being out of practice, not really being really experienced. And the main piece for me was not knowing what to do if the camera just shut off, or if a setting was wrong or something like that. Not knowing the equipment. I was like, I can't do that ever again. I just can't. So and I obviously wasn't mad at her or anything like that. It was my gig, so I'm like running around like a chicken with my head cut off. But there was a situation where I couldn't get to her, couldn't get to the camera, and the shot was messed up. It was something as simple as like not knowing how to really adjust the tripod in a weird position because the tripod's on sand or something like that. So we just basically said like, if we're gonna do this, you got to learn what we're doing. And really, it was gonna be so few and far between that she could actually do. We just said like, nope, never again. Can't do that. Can't do that now.
But I think that comes back to too, like I was saying before, like in the beginning, like think about it. When I first started DJing, I was so young.
Right.
Like I was like the third person. I didn't really matter.
Right.
But once I became like the second person,
Ejecting CDs and shit.
ejecting CDs.
he got to put them in the case this time.
Yeah,
You get jewel cases?
The binder?
Yeah, the big binders, like a bag
Sick.
full of CDs. But once you became that second person, like with that responsibility, right? Like I only got that because I proved that I kind of knew what I was doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like now, like I said, I don't want to bring anybody out with me that couldn't do it on their own, not just be that second person. But you also have to be willing, like you said, to pay for it.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not going to find somebody that could potentially be booking themselves for a wedding, whether they're in your, photography, video, or DJing, to come out with you for like $100.
Right.
Right.
I mean, there's somebody that will do it,
Right,
but
probably,
they're not
but-
going to be the caliber of person you're looking for. So I think you have to mimic your packages and your pricing
Right.
to reflect getting two solid people, at least two solid people.
Yeah.
I always kind of reference what Mike and I thought it took as far as gear and stuff like that to shoot weddings when we first started versus what we consider a professional kit now. The difference in those things is insane.
Yeah.
The stuff we used to do when we first started compared to like, I'm just restating what I just fucking said. But my point is,
Let me clear it up.
Take it two.
what I'm saying is the stuff we used to use compared to the stuff we use really though, like what I would say, like no, I can't have that person come shoot for me. They don't have a professional kit. That's the shit I started with.
Yeah.
But I can't afford you to not have the right stuff now.
Well, funny, when I started on Long Island, my buddy Adrian and I, we used to do weddings with all the shit that we needed for a wedding fitting in a Ford Explorer. Right? Like, and that was lights, that was speakers, that was at one point, like before flat TVs came out, like plasmas, we used to take these like 37-inch like regular TVs and like this hang mount thing and hang it off the truss. But we used to fit, I'm scratching myself, but we used to fit all this stuff in this Ford Explorer. Like looking back at it, like now for a wedding that's just music, I bring my whole trailer.
Yeah.
Right.
And I have like,
You don't put it on the tour bus?
I got like 9,000 wires and all these like duplicated things. And like looking back at it, like we had 2 speakers with us when we used to do wedding.
Yeah.
Now I have like 4 because in case something happens to the ones I'm using, I want to have backup.
Yeah.
But we were fine. But it's just like when I look at it and I look back at it, I'm like, all right, that's where people started, like, and that's how things are.
Do you remember the DJ setup of the first wedding we did that wasn't a family member?
Yeah.
Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, the folding table and like the laptop.
Two
that's
speakers.
It. Yeah.
That's it. It was 2 speakers, laptop, and a card table. You all right, man?
Sorry.
You okay?
I think
The
I just
best. No,
inhaled
I'm
a
not gonna
gnat.
say that. That's mean.
What?
That's mean. There's a big difference between DJs. It's always there's like the trailer DJs and the not trailer DJs.
And that's opposite for people and where they're living. The trailer people.
I should know that I'm not talking about driving my house to the.
No, but like
The kids are in the parking lot.
we always ask people.
Shitter's full.
We always ask.
Winnebago is one of our sponsors.
We always ask people like, "Oh, did you guys get DJ lights and stuff like that?" And when we say DJ lights, we mean like intelligent lighting,
Yeah.
stuff like that. And they're like, "Yeah," and you get there and it's like Spencer's lighting.
Yeah.
You're like, "That's no, that
But
right there."
You
That's
don't
no.
like black lights?
No, that's cool.
And lasers?
Some of them, like,
Yeah, the black light party. we
Yeah,
did
that was
time.
actually
that was hard
cool.
to film,
That was
but it was
fun.
cool.
But you see, like, what you're saying is there's a market for everybody.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
There is a market
100%.
for people that do intelligent lighting and they do it really well, and there's other people that if there's like color changing lights on the dance floor,
It's
that's
good
enough. But it's how you market yourself
Yeah.
that makes it
You bored, Ted?
make sure you got the right fit, right? Because
This dude's yawning at you.
I've been up since 4.
Hey, be all right.
God, it's forgetting that we're
not
sharing a camera over here.
Right, I
so-
know. The guy's talking, you're fucking yawning at him. I just
My
had to
muscles
address.
won't take up the whole camera.
Yeah. My wife's gonna be like, "How come there's no footage of you on this podcast?" I'll be like, "Well,
Just keep
funny,
going towards
funny,
me.
funny story. I was actually there. You could hear my voice, but Ted was doing a lot of
Ted
stupid
has a
shit.
remote, and he like angled the camera right towards him.
Listen, so how much do you use Napster? Or LimeWire?
That stuff doesn't even exist.
Oh, it exists.
it's torrents now.
It's
Not for
torrents,
DJs, but for.
Can't use this. Man.
for criminals.
Well, that wedding we just did, the guy. Why are we going on this tangent? The groom worked for the NSA,
Right.
doing like cybercrime. The
yeah.
brother is giving a speech. He's like, he's like, the NSA came and interviewed our whole family in like our town, and he's like, and I basically told them he was the inspiration for John Wick. But he's like, the whole time I was just trying to make sure they didn't find out I'm a cyber criminal myself, using torrents all the time.
It's funny.
I will say it makes it difficult. So that same wedding I talked about earlier, where it was Indian music and stuff like that, I was like looking for good Indian music to use for the footage. So I did like the "Hey Siri, what's the name of this song?" right, and did it. And the title that came up on Siri was "It's YouTube.com/blah blah 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 blah."
Yeah.
It was something ripped, like definitely not licensed, something ripped off of YouTube. I was like,
how does it know that?
Okay. It just, I guess that's
It might not be available anywhere else.
Right,
or
right. It was
there's
weird.
stuff like that.
yeah.
I mean, there's definitely some music that people choose that it
You
turns
can't
out
find
to
it.
be that way.
Right.
Like you have to figure out a way to get it. But realistically, like everybody usually belongs to record pools or
Right.
something, and they're still called record pools, but obviously they're all MP3s, where you're updated weekly, daily, whatever with music to stay on top of it. But yeah, I mean,
What
back
is that?
in the day, like LimeWire, I guess, used to be like when
What's
you
this
needed
up?
a new song before it came out. Like that was the only
Yeah.
place to find it.
Yo, you want that Charlie Bit My Finger remix?
Baby Shark remix.
Yep.
So for people starting, what do like record pools cost? Like
So it
to
depends.
belong to that stuff.
There's some that are, like $20 a month. There's
Okay.
others that are, by the year, maybe like $500.
That's similar to how we
kind
like
of
license.
Yeah,
music.
it depends on what you want to do, right? So there's things like promo only, that you're basically getting the radio edit of every song.
Shut up, Mike.
Sorry.
Joe's talking.
I'm over here holding back coughs, taking in gnats.
I know, man. You're doing good. No
Look at the
respect.
fucking-
No
look,
respect.
I'm I look like I got the chicken pox for all these fucking
got
gnats.
malaria. I couldn't hold that
bad.
in.
I came here with them, but
When the when the wind goes up, we're all right.
yeah.
Oh yeah, the wind is great.
But yeah, so like promo only. Promo only actually has like a lot of the radio edits, but they started once it went digital and it wasn't CDs anymore. They started to carry more and more remixes, but they're not like they're like the radio version remixes. Then there's other things like Direct Music Service. They have a lot of remixes mostly. There's club killers. There's so many out there that it really depends on where you live for the first part, right? Like around here, you could get away with playing remixes and mashups and different things. People probably like Midwest are playing the radio version, and that's enough. But then again, there's some customers, clients, guests, whatever you want to call them, that here the radio version is all that works too. You know, they don't want it to turn in. I always say, like, they don't want it to turn too nightclubby. They just want a fun party. You know, so there's that.
That's a really interesting point, especially since we've seen weddings in multiple states. But it seems like here, like the tri-state area, is like weddings are like a different level.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like,
I think that
is that the same with DJs?
Yeah, I mean, from a DJing perspective, like, I mean, from Long Island to here, they're the same. You know, it's basically everybody's doing the same thing. Everybody owns the same equipment. Everybody looks exactly the same, and it's difficult to differentiate yourself.
Everybody's Sicilian.
Yeah, a bunch of Sicilians and hair gel.
That's it. That's it.
You got a laptop, hair gel.
You good, bro?
A speaker.
GTO.
Muscle
We
milk.
got speakers and sneakers.
You got a
Black
plate of
t-shirt
you got
with
a,
a suit jacket over
a
top
plate
of
of
it.
prosciutto.
But I'm actually speaking of that, I'm pretty happy.
With your cold cuts.
Yeah, my cold cuts down. I found a guy down
Salted meats.
there. I found a guy.
You got a guy?
I got a guy. No, but my accent's disappeared since moving down here.
That's bullshit.
Well, slowly fading, I guess.
Yeah.
To you guys, it might still be here.
Use
but
guys.
Use guys. But,
What do you mean down here?
like from Long Island.
Where do you live now?
I live in Howell,
What's your
New
address?
Jersey. I live at 123.
Go.
But yeah, so it's different to see how weddings are different. Like,
Yeah.
doing a wedding in Vermont is very
Different.
different.
Sure is.
Tennessee,
It's
way
a party.
different.
Tennessee was way different.
My cousin was a wedding DJ in Maryland, and like he would see what we were doing, and he'd be like, "Oh, this is fucking dope."
Yeah.
Like, he goes, "Let me tell you what I did last week." Like, basically played background music for like the first 3 hours, and then like the last 45 minutes, people dance.
We were
He's like,
south.
bro, you don't rock that chicken dance?
Yeah.
We were down in like the Maryland, Delaware area, and I remember they're like, "Oh, this is one of the nicest venues down there." And we went, and it was like
Is that
Much-
the monsoon wedding?
much different. Yes, much different than what we would. Not like a Mallard or a Chateau, or
Yeah.
and you're like, all right, but to them that was like the pinnacle of weddings there.
And
Just
it-
different vibe.
It's definitely different, but at the same time, again, if somebody from a different area is hiring you, you have to remember in your head why they're hiring you. You know what I mean? Like, for us especially, right? If they see videos or they hear mixes or they do whatever, like, you're playing the stuff that you would normally play here.
Yeah.
So that's what they want. To an extent.
Yeah.
The guests might not react the same way, but that gets back to reading the crowd and figuring out. Somebody that's really good at that is my buddy Manny. Like, Manny can play the radio version of any song and change the vibe of the crowd by playing the radio version, but playing it in a certain way and looping it and dropping it and doing. He's like a very talented dude.
Manny was the
he's the
Pleasantdale
man.
Chateau.
Yeah, Manny's the man.
Pleasantdale Chateau DJ. It was dope.
Yeah.
That
It
party was
insane.
awesome.
But like, he's on a different level, right? Like, he used to DJ like alongside guys on Hot 97.
Right.
And
That's
and
what it was. A club. That was a
he's like-
club wedding.
He's like really good at
Tommy
that.
was at that too, right? Tom.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big one. That
So-
That was nuts.
So what's cool though is having guys like that as part of the group
Right.
is what we're trying to do, right? Like,
Right.
if and making the connection for people. Sometimes you sit down with somebody,
Yeah.
and if they're looking for something specific, I'm like, I need to make sure that this person's available,
Right.
or else we
Work
might
on
not
it.
be able to do what you want.
Right.
And similarly, the same thing comes with lighting and photo booths and all that stuff, right? We're limited with the amount of equipment that we have. Like, if you want to do the balls out stuff, I want to make sure that the couple of people I have that are lighting techs aren't already booked on
Right.
something else, because I want to make sure that you're getting what you want. But if you get to the point where our list is already diminished, then you got to start reaching out and finding the right people to bring on as partners.
Right.
And I think even when it comes to, you know, what we've done together with video photography and DJing and stuff, like, you guys send people to me when you know I'm the right fit, and vice versa, because it's not as easy as just being like, I'll find somebody to DJ a wedding. Like, let's just book it.
Right. Yeah, it's making sure you're referring the right people, because it is a reflection on yourself too. And like you said, when your team's diminished, it makes it. I used to feel, what do they call it, being tied to the yes. I used to feel really bad, or like crazy, like go to crazy lengths and pull people that, and this is like way back at the beginning, pull people that I didn't even know what their skill level was, just to be able to say yes to the day and like not turn down money and not turn down a job.
Well,
and I would never do that now.
I think in our industry, when you're first getting started, you want to say yes to everything. Right. Somebody calls you, and they get married, and you talk to them, and they say, my budget is this much, and it's nowhere near what you usually charge. In the beginning, you're like, I'll do it for them, like, whatever. Still making money. I can't complain.
Right.
As time goes on, you start to realize that people that you're meeting with, you almost have to interview them just as much the other way to say, hey, like, me, I don't want you to have false expectations of what I do.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't want to go into something that I don't think we're the right fit for. And when you get to that level, I think you can start limiting the amount of work that you do, upping your price because you're getting people that want you specifically, or your brand specifically. And it's just nice sometimes to actually tell people, like, hey, like, we're available, you know, let's make this happen, and not necessarily be like, I'm gonna be your DJ, like, you know, like, you want to get back in touch with them. And I think that's a big thing. Like, for us, the prices are on the website. Like, we want to kind of softly introduce people to where our price point is, and I think you guys kind of do the same thing, right?
It took me a while to get there. I was afraid for a while.
It makes sense to be afraid, because you don't know what people's mindset is, right? There's some people that spend $10,000 on their whole wedding, and then there's other people that spend $10,000 on the DJ. You know, and it's very hard to find that person that spends $10,000. But with where our price is, we want people to not lead in our conversation with, what does this cost?
Yeah.
Right? Because I've noticed that couples that ask, what does this cost, don't know what else to ask.
Right.
Like,
yeah, they don't know
when you go,
exactly.
when you go look at cars, the sticker price is on the car, because they want to give you an idea of what you're going to spend. Like, they don't want you I shouldn't say wasting somebody's time, but they don't want you approaching a salesperson and being, well, how much does that one cost? And what's this? They want you to get to know what the car has in it. And I think that's what we need to do too. Like, if we show the price and somebody's still interested in meeting with us, it allows us to say, let me explain to you what we do.
Yeah.
And then they can connect the dots of if that price fits and we made the case for ourselves.
You put your price on your website?
Now I do, yeah.
You put your price on your website?
Yep.
Do you? I'm the only one who doesn't. All right, so I don't.
I not only put them on the site, but in the first contact, they go out like, "Hey, blah." It's very short. Like, you just saw the email.
Yeah.
It's like, "Hey, what's up?" Blah, blah. It doesn't say what's up.
It's exactly the same email I use.
So
But it's a link. Like, check out the packages.
Right.
Let me know which one of them jumps off to you. Like, is perfect. Let's
I do
set up
the
a
same.
time to call.
I do that. I do that, but I don't have them posted on my website. So when they contact me, and the first question is, I've turned a couple people of like, how much does this cost? Like, what's the session cost? Into clients versus someone who's just price shopping, by having them get on the phone. So I always send them the pricing sheet. I say, hey, shoot me an email. We'll set up a call to go over the pricing sheet. Or I'll send you over my price sheet. If it seems like someone doesn't want to talk, I'm not going to force them on the phone. Hey, yeah, I'll send you over my pricing sheet. If you have any questions, let me know. And it's worked out great, because I think explaining it, because the way I do the sales, with it being like a session fee and prints and things like that, it's not all like a package,
Yeah,
right?
it's not cut and dry, I guess.
Exactly. I feel like I need to be able to explain that to somebody, and it works out nicely that way.
That's a big reason why I do weddings. I one of the reasons I chose weddings over some other styles of photography is I used to get inquiries for like portraits, and they'd say, hey, how much are pictures? And I didn't know how to answer, because it's like, okay, do you want a 5-minute session for me to take a headshot for your LinkedIn profile, or do you want a 4-hour modeling session on the beach 2 hours away? Like, I don't know what you want. And so I would ask them, like, hey, what do you want? Like, what are some, like, why do you want this session? What are you going to do with the pictures? Do you want prints, digitals? Like, we got such a broad question that, you know, people didn't even know what to ask or how what they wanted. So it was such a broad thing that I just kind of gave up, which I shouldn't have. I should have, you know, tried to figure out a system for it. But at weddings, I do all-day packages for everybody, so it's I know what I'm giving them, so I can clearly say, hey, this is what you're getting, this is what I do, this is how much it's going to cost.
Right.
So to that point, right? When you come to the point where you can say, this is what a wedding costs, I think that's a huge step, right? Because when somebody wants to do for you to shoot portraits, or wants you to take pictures at my birthday party, and the birthday party's 6 hours, and I want you to come early, and I want you to do, so you're devoting as much time as a wedding. It's like, how do you price it differently? It's very difficult to do that, right? And when it comes to entertainment, you know, like, some people have different prices for photo booths if it's a wedding or if it's a birthday party. But let's be honest, a photo booth is taking pictures of people and printing them out.
Yeah.
It's the same amount of effort, it's the same equipment, it's the same everything, and it's 4 hours all the time. So like with us, there's a price for photo booths. There's no different. Now when it comes to weddings, obviously you're getting 2 people. You're getting the whole planning process. You're doing all of that. So the pricing does differentiate from, you know, DJing somebody's backyard party. But then on the reverse side of it, what I've kind of done is I don't want to DJ somebody's backyard party.
Right.
Because there's 2 parts to it. One is, if I tell Mike I'll DJ his backyard party, and I just throwing numbers out there, I say it's $500. Well, that kind of diminishes my value when Mike's cousin goes, hey, I'm getting married, how much is it? And I say it's thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, we were just at Mike's house for $500. What's the difference? It's hard to differentiate that. And I think
I get that.
a lot of people end up doing maybe multiple brands. Hello, can you hear me now?
Let's all hide like this.
Off of what you both said.
Are you talking right now? Next time on the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes.
Did you know she was a cop?
So
I can't see it.
So off of what you and Ted both just said, so Ted for the photography, shut up, for having the different styles and stuff like that, I think that makes, for me, it takes out of the equation being able to, it's specialized, right? With We Do Our Studio, it's completely specialized, one thing. But for the exact reason, so I'm always upfront. I don't put my pricing on my website, but I'm always upfront about what our pricing is and what it costs. So it can be deceiving, right? Because I have a session fee. So when someone says, how much is a session? $300, right? $500, whatever it is, for photo, for a photo session, and that comes with no pictures, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, it's that much in no pictures? What do you mean? So for me, I want to be able to explain, hey, it's no time limit, no outfit change limit. It includes hair and makeup. It's this much time with a photographer. That's what that is. And then here's what the value is of this other stuff. This is where you buy your packages. And I'm always upfront with, generally someone spends this much money. On average, this is about how much someone spends. So right off the bat, they're figuring out what they're probably going to spend. And it's not this shell game of money and stuff like that. But I felt like it was hard for me to explain that in just text on a website.
Yeah.
Just based on that price.
I think like that even comes with us with enhancements, right? So intelligent lighting,
Absolutely.
dancing on a cloud, monograms, all this stuff. There's some people whose thought process is, well, what's the package deal, right? But let's be honest, like if I have to set up 4 intelligent lights and then I'm also setting up uplighting, it makes more work.
Yeah.
So really the price should go higher per thing because now it's more. So what I did,
and I still got a DJ.
is in designing those prices even for the enhancements. Like they're on the website too. They're on all the printouts because
You'll be okay. Did you shit yourself?
This goddamn Loch Ness monster in there.
It's the swamp thing.
It was an internal burp from the.
I've had those. You know what?
It's coming for you.
I can give you an exact
Coca-Cola.
memory off of one of those. When I was in 4th grade, I was sitting at a quad of desks, and I did that. I internal burped like in here, and the girl sitting next to me turned. She goes, "Did you just fart?" I said, "No, I burped. I did it without opening my mouth." You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
was
that's basically what happened. I'm sitting there. It's like, hold on, wait, where'd that come
like,
from?
full of shit.
It's
She
on my
didn't
hair.
believe me. And it was like the most horrifying moment of my life.
And
I'll
then you
never
married
forget
her.
that. No, I didn't.
Oh.
I didn't.
Because she accused
her
you
name
of
was
farting.
her name was Shannon. And yeah, she accused me of farting. I was so fucking embarrassed, and I was like, no, really, I burped. And she's like, yeah, okay. I was like, no, seriously, I burped without opening my mouth. You know, it was like in here. It was like when you made the farting noise with your sneakers at school, and somebody's like, did you just shit yourself?
Hold on, is that the worst thing at a wedding? when you're at a wedding, and especially for us, we're all standing behind the DJ booth, and somebody walks over and like farts or just stinks by themselves, and then walks away, and then you don't want to ask the person that you're standing there with if it was them, but you're taking for granted it was the other person. That's like the worst feeling.
I've done that.
And then there's nowhere to go.
Ted does that all the time. We were
Not
the
on purpose,
help.
not on purpose.
We're the help at the wedding. So like, if someone cropped us to dance floor and I walk into that, like they think it was me. I don't care what anybody thinks. And they would never think it's another guest. It must be that shitbag videographer
Yeah.
just crapped himself.
It was me.
It was always Ted. It's always Ted.
Look at his beard. He
Buffalo-
doesn't take care of himself.
Buffalo farts are gross. Why'd you just hit him on his beard, man? That ain't right.
I was talking about you.
Fuck you, bro. Look at his hairline, man.
Come on.
Yeah, the smell leaves this beard quicker than it does yours. Yours, it stays.
Oh no,
and
it stays in
lingers.
there. I just try to not smell. I try to keep myself clean. It's important. Ted thought if you don't have hair, you don't have to use shampoo anymore. Like you still gotta wash your head. What the fuck is wrong
Yeah, but you
with
can use a bar of soap for that.
You could. You dry out though.
50
You
cents.
dry out pretty bad.
Just damp a
Get
paper towel.
dry scalp. Windex.
Actually, when I run
just
out of
Windex it.
shampoo and we didn't go to the store, I use a bar of soap.
Do you?
Yeah.
And your hair
Dry
still
your
looks that
scalp
good?
out.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a
You better
secret.
not lose that hair, man.
I'm over here using
you lose that
shampoo
hair,
every
you're
day. That's the problem.
He's like, I got conditioner.
Actually, I cut my hair short one time like that, and
Don't do it, man.
I have a weird shaped skull. It's not pretty.
Got that John C. Reilly forehead, man. That's what it is.
Swollen.
You gotta be. You can be the next Step Brothers. You just get a perm. You'll be all good.
fucked up.
Bro, listen.
It's no.
You don't have that. What was it? There's videos online. This guy, his one buddy, I guess, has a kind of like the sausage rolls on the back of his head, and he swipes that debit card through it every time. The guy's a good sport about it, though. He laughs every time, and that shit is hysterical.
No, my favorite's the angry rhino.
Right?
Have you seen that?
No,
No.
what is that?
These guys go to Europe on vacation, and their one friend's bald. And anytime he's like has his back turned, they take an ice cream cone and go
Oh
poop
yeah.
and put it on his head, and he turns around and he goes, "What the fuck?" And they go, "It's the angry rhino," and they run away, and he
That's
chases
great.
them.
That's amazing.
And
I
he's-
have seen that.
So he's like,
I have
"Not
seen that.
again."
And then he like washes it off once, and then some
Sticks
second
it.
person
Yeah.
comes in.
Oh, dude, the tide's coming in.
Oh yeah. We were walking around earlier.
Gotta be careful.
It's coming up over the dock.
Gonna wash us out.
I think this
What?
is a nice, fun, long episode. I like it.
Man, why do you got to comment on the episode while we're
Because
doing the
I'm
episode?
just like slow, subtle way of saying, "Hey, are we done?"
We got 13 minutes
Weird,
till they
man.
run
What
out.
are you doing? You not having a good time?
I'm having
What,
a
you don't
wonderful
like, You don't like
time.
Joe?
I'm
Mike's the
holding
only
this
one that
fart
was
in really
Not
well.
having a good time for the
You're-
first hour.
you're-
I was having a great time. I'm listening.
You're,
Mike
you're
was busy.
yawning while the guest is talking. You're crinkling cans.
I backed
you're
up
asking
once.
when we're done.
Yeah.
Actually, every time I have to burp, I back up.
Wait, what was the metal sound that just happened?
He blew a can open with this
Can.
burp.
It's his dumb can.
The wind is what's going to change
It's
this
it's
out.
the Zevia cans that Ted never cleans up.
Sponsored by Zevia.
If you ever want to know if Ted's been in somebody's car, just look for empty cans at Zevia. We gotta get the boat in the water for next episode.
Yeah.
I told them, I said, let's do a thing on the an episode on the boat. They said, no way, it'd be too windy, exactly like this. and then we get here and Ted goes, we should put the boat in order, do an episode on the boat. I'm like,
Well, yeah, no, I remember
Yeah,
you said that.
yeah.
That'd be great.
I wasn't trying
sounds
to take
better.
credit
Sounds
for it.
better when you say it, man.
That's a
funny.
great idea you had.
Yeah. Son of
Might as well wrap it up with the wind. The wind's not going to stop.
It's not gonna stop.
The wind is coming.
Listen, Ted already ended the episode with his
I
memory
have
king
to
of the
pee,
fourth wall.
okay?
I
No,
thought,
I have to pee.
we ended like 45 minutes ago.
This is how it goes.
All right, man. Well, dude, it was awesome having you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming, man. It's been great. Where can people find you online?
TheExperienceNJ.com, DJJoeFalco.com brings you all to the same place.
Clap. Anyway, all right, dude. I think think this is over. We killed
Hey,
it.
man.
We killed it.
This is freaking awesome. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks.
We already did that, Ted.
Me and you are the only ones talking, so.
Ted, that's
True, Mike.
that's what you said 10 minutes ago.
Mike's Mike.
Everybody needs a monster.